continuously we talk about advantage, benefits, and other stuff also. Now, according to me, or according to bookish definition of cloud, if you think about cloud is somewhere or the other place, it would be a data center. Now, when I think about data center, this is giant machines, where the stuffs you need has been added. And then you access all those things via different mobile devices. I'll share my screen. We'll go through this definitions and things together. So whenever we think about cloud, I hope you can see my screen. Everyone is able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah. So if you see this, whenever we thought about cloud, it will be a data center, a giant data center or a computing place where everything will get added. Whatever things you need, whether you need servers, whether you need virtual desktop, platforms, application, database, data storage, everything will be added at that one particular place, and we will be able to access it on a different mobile devices over the internet. So that's a basic gist of cloud. You think about any cloud, whether it's an Amazon, whether it's Google, whether it's Azure, anything, backend would be more or less same. So according to the definition, cloud computing is a method of enabling convenient on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources. Or in another way, we can say that it is a method of running application, software, storage related data in a centralized computer system uh, and providing customer access through the internet. So like initially Zeri talked about, over the internet, and I have an access to mobile devices. So to what things you get access? You get access to servers, virtual desktops, applications, software platforms, database, whatever you need. So that's a first. In a second and a little bit more detailed definition, what it talks about, they call this particular pool as shared configurable computing resources that can be accessed and released with minimal management effort or a service provider interaction. That's the second piece of definition. So in the first, we have a kind of, resources. In the second definition, we talks about how I get access to those resources, how easily I can, work on those resources. So I'll go to the second definition now, which is it says this is in shared pool of configurable computing resources. Now, when I talk about my shared pool, it's again same. I have this network, servers, virtual desktops, laptop, everything comes under that one piece. So network, servers, storage, applications, and services. Now, these can be rapidly accessed and released with minimal management effort or a service provider interaction. Now, this piece has taken a cloud to the next step. One thing is getting the services. Other piece is how you are getting services. You can rapidly provision and release with minimal management effort and a service provider interaction. Now, there is someone who's working on on-premises in today's training, right? Now, let's take an example. When I'm working on on-premises and I want to add a new storage, I want to add maybe new hard drive, or I want to add a new, I want to increase my RAM or a computational power. How much time it will take? What do you think? Any rough number? And it also depends on the organization, how agile is your organization is. So
maybe 2 to 3 months
right.
just to get the hardware, etc.
Minimum 2 to 3 months. And let's say if you're very agile, at least a month it will take, because the process itself is, first you will finalize the vendor. When I want to buy something, I'll look into the market from where should I buy, right? Second thing is who is providing it at the better cost. Third thing is who is providing a better after services. Then you will kind of, the payment cycle, you will go through that. Then the procurement will happen. Then the device will come. You'll actually put it into the place, and then you'll start utilizing. That's a long process. In a cloud, it doesn't happen like that. It's all on demand. Whenever you need it, you add it into the resources. The whole process is shrink down because you're not buying anything here. You will pay on your use case basis. It's almost similar to, let's say, I want to go somewhere. I don't need to buy a car. I'll hire my car. I'll book my cab. I'll go. I'll pay for that journey itself. Something like similar works on here. Everything, and many things you can put and compare it with the cloud, like this delivery apps, or you can say the electricity bill, water bill. It's all based on the consumption. So similarly, whatever resources you will use in the cloud, it will be based on consumption usage. You're not buying anything, you're not procuring anything. That's a big difference. So you save a good amount of money. You don't have to pay all the money in upfront. You pay money as per your usage, mostly in a monthly cycle. Second piece is release. Now let's say same example. If I want to buy a hard drive and we have taken it on premises, let's say 100 GB drive. Tomorrow you go to your manager and says that we have done over provision. We are not able to utilize 100. The actual need was only like 40 or 50. And remaining 50 is, we are not able to utilize. What will happen? No, not acceptable, because you're wasting the money. You're bought something and now you're saying you're not able to utilize, and you can't release it also because you already made the payments. You're actually fixed it into your hard. With the cloud, it doesn't happen. Whenever you want to release any resources, it becomes very easy to release. You release it from your bucket, someone else is ready to, use those resources at their end. And there is a long queue of resources getting into the pipeline, getting utilized and all those stuff. So that's a second angle to look at the cloud. You can rapidly provision and release the resources with minimal management effort and the service provider interaction. So there is no vendor. There is a minimal management interaction, and costing point of view also there are less approval because your cost is recurring. It's not a one-time pay. Now, any cloud model, it promotes a characteristics, service model, and a deployment model. So characteristics are a little bit tied to the advantages, what we already spoke a little bit in the definition. Then there are service model and the deployment model. Now let's go through it one by one. What are the essential characteristics of the cloud? So when we think about characteristic, it will be like, flexibility, elasticity, access point of view, right? So these are the 5 essential characteristics of cloud. First one is on-demand self-service. So within an existing contract, a user or a customer can add a new service, storage, space, or a computing power without formal request of change. Once I become a part of any cloud computing provider, I create my account, I get in, I started using the services. I can do whatever I want into that particular access from an organization or as an individual point of view. And there are two types of accounts. So, if you're a part of organization, you will have a limited access. The one you create for a practice, you will have whatever access you want to go to. Next is broad network access. Now we spoke about this. Anytime, any place, any device. What I need, I just need an enough bandwidth. Now, right now we are meeting on the Zoom meeting, right? What is this? This is nothing but an example of cloud computing. I pay my subscription cost, monthly or yearly, and I usually use it for my training. All of us are joining through the internet from our different devices, right? So same thing. Resource pooling. Now, resource pooling is a little bit different. This is also known as multi-tenants, multi-user model, where you share a different type of access to the resources. I'll give a very generic example for resource pooling. Let's say we have a 20 storage building. We own it. Now it's up to us and the tenant who will be residing into that building, how we want to give it on the rent and how they want to utilize. Example, someone wants to open a rooftop restaurant, I'll give him the top floor. Someone wants to open like a mall or a showroom, I'll give him like bottom 2 floors. Then someone wants to do the commercial or office premises, the first few floors. Someone wants to be in the residential piece, I'll give him the middle floors or upper floors, like that. So everyone is using that one building as per their access. So all those users become tenants, becomes a multiple user of that one particular building. Now, same thing happens into the cloud. Now, let's say when we talked about the storage piece, I want to request for, particular storage. My request will go to cloud, right? I want 5 GB, assume that. Do you think that for 5 GB, they will assign a full machine of 50 GB or 100 GB for myself? No. There are multiple people who are accessing the same resources who is probably of, 1000 GB of space. Same goes with the server, same goes with database, same goes with the storages. So it helps us to kind of, have those things as a multi-user point of view. Now, if you see this, uh, all those people become a multiple tenants and multiple user of that one particular resource. Okay. You're getting it, like any confusion here? Because this is little important, from an understanding point of view. Any questions? Anything in
No
the
questions so far.
yeah, anything you see that it affects for a security cost or anything like that?
Uh, uh, Hi, I have questions. Swapnil this side. Can you relate it with this previously, like without cloud on premise, like this essential characteristics? Can you relate it that, like for example, uh, what we were using earlier, now we are using cloud, so that way.
Yes. Now, if you see this, let's say we talk about only resource pooling. Okay. So if I
Hmm.
get your question correctly, we want to connect the characteristics to on-premises, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
get it. So let's talk about resource pooling. What happens in the resource pooling? Only our organization, we
hmm,
uses that resources, right? Whether
right,
it's in 10 GB, 100 GB, or 1000 GB, we are only utilizing it. Here, your cloud service provider manages it, and there are 10 different organizations who uses for their millions of customers. So we are
right,
not the only one, who is using the resources in the cloud. So there are millions of customer. If you link with your on-premises thing, this is the reason, because our cost has reduced. Our cost is coming to the like very less, you can say, from a
got
costing point of view. Now,
got it, got it,
if I
got it.
talk about broad network access, okay, so when the resource access happens on on-premises, we usually have internal customer, intranet, those sort of things, right?
Yeah,
Only or through specific channel. Right now, there are millions of customers. If they are a part of a cloud network, they can access. Depend, where they are placed. Someone could be developer, someone could be tester, someone could be production guy, and someone could be an end user also. Like I am an end user for Zoom meeting, and like
right,
we everyone, you can say, for now. So that's
right,
piece of broad network access.
right.
On demand self service, we already spoke about. If I want to add
Yeah, yeah.
something, right? So the request, the cost, and all those things.
Okay, Pratik, maybe I have a question. So let's say we are more or less selling some kind of cloud services to customer. Just for example, Amazon. Under such circumstances, I think customer are concerned about their security area, and I think you really by fluke you touched this point. So is there an option we can extract the security certificates from Amazon itself and understand their security topology in terms of how the system is being set up and what kind of security is being provided by Amazon for the users or kind of tenants?
Yeah, definitely we can do that. I'm not touching upon a security now, but definitely we'll talk about in a subsequent slide. So, and we'll go phase by phase. Now, if you talk about Amazon, there is a different way of security. But what is cloud security? How you can improve upon it? And there is a big question on how we utilize that particular piece. So I'll talk about it in a bit. I'd say I don't want to mix the things, but
That
yeah,
that's fine. That's fine.
valid
That's
point.
fine.
Valid point. I agree.
So, Pratik, just last question. So can we say the resource to tenant have one to many relation? Means one resource can have multiple tenant.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, okay.
And that's the why that's the reason there are so many people utilizing our resources. And another way down, that's the factor which is reducing the cost of cloud computing.
Mm-hmm. You got it.
Okay. Talking about elasticity, it's again mixed with the wordings like flexibility and the scalability. I usually give an example of web shops here when I talk about elasticity. Um, let's take an example, whenever this sales comes, like, Diwali, New Year, Christmas, back to back, there are sales, right? So for those particular time period, what happens? My traffic increases suddenly. And I'll give a hypothetical example. Let's say if I have a 20 customer, my customer base might increase to 200 or 2000 for that specific amount of time period. Now, how do I handle that particular traffic, for that time period? I add an additional resource. I kind of give an additional computational power to my applications to handle that particular traffic. And then once the sales comes down, when it comes to the normal, I reduce that particular extra resources to again, coming back to the normal. Now, how would I pay for it? Whatever additional resources I am using, I'll pay for only that one particular time. Another way you can say that, all this particular applications nowadays, whether you talked about online shopping, whether you talked about OTT, whether you talked about this cab booking, book my show, anything, right? This is all dynamic. So whenever there is a traffic increase, there will be additional computing power, will be added to those resources so that they can handle that one particular task. Wording point of view, this concept in few cloud computing, it's also known as scaling. How do you scale your application? So we'll again talk about it in detail, but this is how your elasticity works. You will have a scalability and flexibility together to add an additional computing resources to your applications or a service. Major service, we already talked about it. It's more of, how we are paying for the resources, right? Whatever resources I'm using, I'll pay according to those resources. Now, let's say if I'm using a 2 GB of storage, I'll pay only for 2 GB. If I'm using in one server with 10 GB of RAM and let's say 5 CPUs, I'll only pay for that. So it's like that. Whatever services you are using, you will pay according to that service and the time period for which you are utilizing that service. It is, usually similar to any subscription model. Whatever subscription model I have, according to that, I will pay. If I'm utilizing any additional services, I'll pay according to that additional service. Okay, so voice is visible. I'll try to be a little cautious about the mic. Thanks. Sometimes it's network also. Do let me know if it happens. Okay. Now, characteristic. Now there are service model and the deployment models in the cloud. When I talk about service model and the deployment model, there are different pieces into it. So what kind of services we are providing to the customer? You might have already gone through this, whether we talked about software as a service, platform as a service, and the infrastructure as a service. Now, talking about it in little detail, what is software as a service? Where you are actually utilizing the end user software. So here, customer or an user do not need to worry about building and maintenance of that particular software. I will just focus on my business use cases of the application. So it will break the tradition where organizations buy or develop their own applications and run and manage them on their own IT infrastructure. Example specifically, let's say we work on Gmail, right? What is the purpose of Gmail? Just to send and receive the emails. Now, other than that, I'm least bothered about what kind of code they are utilizing, what kind of encryption they are utilizing, where is that server where my data is stored. What I'm concerned about is just sending and receiving emails. Rest of the everything will be taken by the service provider. Same thing, Office 365. It's a full suite which helps us to do the Outlook, Teams meeting and everything, right? We're least bothered about when is the next release coming, what are the updates, what kind of codes they have used, what kind of, encryption they are using and whatnot, right? We are more focused on improving our business productivity by utilizing those resources.
But Pratik, here, when you talk about the SaaS itself, SaaS is more about, using Amazon applications. That could be one thing. And then, using a storage space to have our own application built upon, which could be accessible from different places. Isn't that the case?
It's not only storage, this will be more of complete end-to-end thing you get. So if I only talk about storage, for what purpose it is used, it could be used as a database, it could be used as a backup, that might go to the application towards it, right? But software as a service is a full complete suite where, I'm working on maybe a CRM. I am working on maybe an OTT platform, where I put my subscription and use it. I talked about Zoom meeting, right? This is again in software as a service, or maybe Office 365, what we spoke about. So these are all like end to end. I don't need to worry about either storage or anything or things like that. I pay for it as per my subscription and I utilize those services. Whether if you just talk about maybe storage or things like that, that will fall under the different bucket. Or if you want to write a code or things like that, that will fall under the platform as a service bucket. But software as a service is, you can say, where we are not concerned about anything related to the backend. Getting it?
Yeah.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, the software as services means the softwares are already built on Amazon, and we are just using it. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, they are already built, they are already deployed, you are using. And when you talk about they are built, we are not sure about build, right? How the build
Yes.
has been happened, what code they had used, what is in plot software language they have used,
Yes,
what
yes.
is the release cycle, when is the next release coming, where the data is stored, right? We are not getting into that. That's why it's
Just
software as well.
just like an API we are used in our systems. We don't need the description about that, but we just use all and use it like that.
Right, exactly. So the very big example is Google Apps, right? So when I go to Google Apps, I directly install it, put my login ID, password, start utilizing it. And I am not bothered about the codes and all that kind of thing, right? So
Okay.
that's your software as a service.
Yes.
Whatever business productivity tools are, there, you can say they all will be part of software as a service nowadays. If it is clear now, or like this will be again, you can see if with an examples, it's all CRM, Office 365, Cisco Webex, GoToMeeting, our all Google Apps. These are all example of a software as a services, you can say. And right now I was talking about, let's not focus specifically on the Amazon itself. This would be all in general. Whether you go to Google, whether you go to Azure or Alibaba or DigitalOcean, everywhere, you will find these sort of services. So this was all about software as a service. Next piece is platform as a service. Now, platform is nothing but where you will build your code. Now, many a time it happens that when I'm doing the development, I'll need certain configuration on systems, on the development platform. They will be added onto my laptop. I'll install. I'll start working on it. What platform as a service says, you don't have to make your platform physically available. You go to your cloud service provider, you will get it from there. Now, the biggest advantage of this, you don't have to buy a configurable systems. You don't have to install and make them compatible. You will directly get them from your cloud service provider. Other thing is, if your software platform or a testing platform or is there in a change in the environment that comes, it becomes easy for you to switch. So you don't have to procure anything here. It's all on demand from your cloud service provider. This is the place where most of the time your developer and tester will spend the time. This is where your codes will get written, executed, tested. That's why it's called as platform as a service. Not owning a computer platform, but being able to use it on demand, and it will save our cost of ownership, management, and maintenance and development. An example, let's say we are developing one product. I want to use Java, Eclipse, Node.js, some sort of thing. Now, what I'll do, I'll open my laptop, I'll install, Java, Eclipse, Node.js, all those things onto my particular physical laptop or a system. I'll buy those things, I'll install, and then I'll start writing the code. Rather than that, I go to my cloud service provider, look for the machines, look for the platforms which has everything which is needed from my side. I write my code into the cloud, I deploy it wherever I want it to the cloud, and then kind of go away with my machines and configuration. And if there are any changes required in that machine, on the fly, I can do that. If there is a new platform needed, on the fly, I can take that. So all these changes and environment management piece will go away using your platform as a service, as you can see. Now, very less examples are there. If you from service point of view, if you see here examples, so almost everyone provide these services, but inside that you will have to find out, what is specific service. So let's say in Amazon Web Services, there are multiple services where we get a platform. In Google, we have Google App Engine. That's where your apps get built, which are deployed into the Play Store. Then we have PHP Cloud. So when I want to write something, I don't have to install the PHP. I directly go into the PHP Cloud and start working on it. Engine Yard is also one of the provider which provides you a different platform. You might have heard about this little famous, in the cloud market nowadays. Now, when we go to the Amazon Web Services, I'll tell you, what are the specific example of platform as a service within AWS. Right now, you can just focus on, what is the definition of platform as a service? What does it give us? What is the definition of software as a service? What does it give us? Like that. Now, talking about the last piece here, which is pretty familiar to everyone, that's an infrastructure as a service. This is the only service because of which your cost has been reduced. Because in cloud, your cost gets reduced drastically because of infrastructure as a service. This service helps us to kind of, you can say reduce the cost, because if you see, where is our hardware? It's under data center. That's where our maximum cost goes. Setting up a data center, setting up a temperature, buying those devices, configuring those hardware, that's where, we spend maximum amount of money. So infrastructure as a services is also sold or called as hardware service provider. This will help us to rent physical or virtual hardware like storage, servers, or internet connectivity. And these are the services which are sold according to, again, as per the billing model. The amount of usage we will have, according to that we will pay. Mostly customer will pay basically by hour, week, or a month. And it varies from provider to provider. The major role play here in infrastructure has as a service was done by Amazon, because this was an early comer into the cloud space, you can say, and then following by Rackspace, Microsoft Azure, and all this. What is the exact difference between SaaS and SaaS? Okay, SaaS is in complete product, you can say. SaaS is the place where you yourself are building your product. In the SaaS, I don't build the product. I directly use the product. In a platform as a service, I take a place where I write my code and then kind of build onto it. That's the main difference in between platform as a service and the software as a service.
So how is it different to, again, the storage thing?
Storage, if you just want to storage, that's in your infrastructure as a service. It won't be called as a platform or in software, because for what purpose you are using the storage, right? That's in kind of,
so let's take an example. Maybe I'm writing a code on, I need some space on cloud, right, Pratik? And in this case, I requested, okay, Amazon, I need maybe say 5 GB of space in cloud, which is accessible from any place. Okay, so in this case, Amazon offers me 5 GB of space on cloud, which could be accessible from any place itself. Now I start writing my code, etc., which is like normal, right? So how is it different from platform as a services? Maybe is it about multi-users, or like, I'm just thinking out loud. So for example, if I'm taking storage space for myself, or maybe infrastructure as service, I'm the only user who can use it. But if I take platform as a service, maybe multi users can use it. Something really need to understand the difference.
I get your point. So when you talk about storage, it's very generic. It's a server storage, system storage, or a storage area network, or a database. That's one piece. So once you're clear on that, then maybe you go to the next piece. I'm assuming that you want to have a storage for storing your codes, maybe, right? So if you
Oh, it's not necessary that I mean, storage space could be, it's depending on my wish, how I would like to use it, right?
but from a cloud angle, it doesn't come in that way. There are different types of storage in cloud. First, we have to be clear, for what purpose I need that storage, because it will impact usage, performance, cost. So you can't say that I need a generic storage. I'll decide, on what purpose I want to use it. First, you have to define, what is your purpose of that storage. I'll give an example. Let's say you want to use a storage for your server,
Okay.
so in that case, those drives are different. If you want to use a storage just to dump your data, in that case, those drives are different. There's a cost variation, there's a performance variation there. So on a cloud side, you can't directly say that give me the storage and I'll decide. You can do that, but it will create a mess for you in a subsequent path, like performance and cost places, I would say. Now, to give you the difference in between storage and a software as a service, storage is a place where you're just keeping the thing, right? It's a one piece of your whole software development life cycle, you can say. But whether on the software as a service, it's a complete product that you are getting. It's a complete software which has a code build, which has a platform, which also has a storage, which also has an infrastructure. So that's a combined product which has everything.
But that's wherein Swarnika has rightly asked you a question. What is the difference between SaaS and PaaS in that case?
Yes, in a platform, what you get a infrastructure. On the top of that, you have a platform where you are writing the code. So you yourself are writing the code and making changes into the software or the application which you are building for your organization. Whether in a software as a service, you don't have authority. Let's take an example. You today go into the Outlook and you say that I want to make some big change, or maybe you go to the Zoom meeting and you say I want to make some big change. You can't do yourself, right? It's a Zoom owner, service provider. He will do those changes based on the feedback he's getting from the customer. They will roll out that to everything. Whether on the platform and service, you are doing something for your own product.
Okay, so if I relate it to an example, let's say if I'm using a Google app, I'm using software as a service. But when I'm developing a Google app and I request some space from Google to do that, that's platform as a service.
Yes. Now,
okay.
Can you see on the screen? This will also help us to clarify your question.
Prateek, can I interrupt here?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, so Zari, in a simple word, we can say SaaS, like if we are building some project or some package. So if you are required some software for a particular application, then we can go ahead with the SaaS. And after building the application, we have required some configuration, some memory, executors. So for that, how we are going to execute? So I think PaaS is a play that role in that to execute that application. Am I understanding correct, Prateek?
No, I'll interrupt a little bit here. Let's focus on the slide. This will answer everyone's question.
Okay.
If you see the hierarchy here, software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. So what comes in infrastructure? Storage, virtual machine, network. On the top of it, what happens? You put your platform. So your database, UI services, applications, workflows, integration, everything happens. So infrastructure is in hardware. Platform is a place where you have your code writing thing, or your integration thing, you can say. And software as a service is an end user product. If you see the visibility point of view, what comes under which particular package? So I'll start from the top. If I say software as a service, it's everything. I get in security, physical data center, network, storage, operating systems, tools, and hosted applications. It's a combined package. When I talked about platform as a service, what I get all the infrastructure pieces. I get an operating systems and I get a tools. Now, using this operating systems and tools, I build my application here. I write my code here. Here, this is the finest product, you can say. So in another way, you can say that software will always have infrastructure and platform. Platform as a service will always have an infrastructure as a service as a base to it. And if you're only taking infrastructure, you have to do everything. So let's say I'm creating a machine from the scratch. I'll put my operating system on the top of it. I'll install my certain, business productivity tool or a code tool or whatever I want. And then I'll kind of host the application onto the top of it. So this is how the hierarchy goes. Now, it also depends where you are placed. Let's say if you are a developer or a tester, you will mostly work on the software as a service. If you are a support guy or an infrastructure guy, you will mostly play a role here. If you are from a management or, maybe customer support service or what we call a customer success partners or things like that, or a business partner, those people usually works on the SaaS and they kind of, drill down to the platform and the infrastructure as a service. So I hope now this helps a little bit segregate what is software, what is platform, what is infrastructure in that case.
Yep, clear.
Yeah. Now if we talk a little bit more on this, right, what comes under it, a very generic example we will take again. If you see here, there are different cloud services: on-premises, infrastructure, platform, and software. So in on-premises, everything I manage, starting from infra to OS to application, everything I need to manage. If I go to infrastructure as a service, I'll get these particular pieces from my provider: server, storage, networking, virtualization. On the top of that, operating system, middleware, runtime, data application, this I need to manage. If I go with the platform as a service, I only manage applications and the data on the top of it. If I take in software as a service, everything is managed by me. I don't have to manage anything. You can take in another example to it, like we talked about a very generic example of, booking a cab, renting a cab and things like that. So you can correlate those things. But if you are, and it also depends on, on what particular place our organization is playing, if we are core, you can say end user, like we usually do with the Google or this business productivity tool, we are utilizing them as a software as a service. If we are writing our product, now let's say I want to start my company, I have an idea and I have to build something. I'll not go into the market and buy the data servers machines and things like that. And the second day I can't go and build my own data center, right? I'll need something, from where I can start. I'll look for the cloud service provider, directly work on those services. And then I can choose, do I need to work on the infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, what services I can build. So it will be based on those. A little bit more clarity on this, who sits where and who have a maximum visibility. End user, it will be usually at this end level and he has least bother about what code and what infrastructure you are using. Application developer, testers, and these people will mostly sit on the platform as a service. They will usually work more closely with the end user. What features you need, what UI you need, what kind of improvements we should be done in the system. So they will more closely work with end users. Infrastructure piece. So these people will have a little bit of higher visibility because they'll have to work with application developers also and end user also. Why? What kind of platform I'm using, what kind of operating system I'm using, how many users I have, was there any performance issues, how we are doing on the performance piece, how we are doing on the cost piece, how we are doing on the security piece. So, people who are working at this level will have a little bit of more visibility through these channels, you can say. This is very, very, very basic. Software, platform, infrastructure, these three pieces are very basic when we talk about cloud. Nowadays, people have again started talking about a different, pieces into this. I'll tell you an example. People will call a database as a service, application as a service, function as a service. Whatever as a service you see, this will be, fixed somewhere in between this, or they will be a combination of any of this. But the foundation of cloud, started with these three. Now I'll talk about one piece, usually, which is kind of a hot topic in the market, which is called as function as a service. Okay. First, anyone has heard about function as a service or a serverless architecture?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Pratik, can you go back to the previous slide once, please?
Sure. This one.
This one.
Any questions, or you just wanted to take the screenshot?
Yeah, just yeah, a screenshot only.
And Pratik, with the recording would be made available to us, right?
Yes, yes, recording also, and I'll share the slides also. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Hello,
done.
Pratik.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yep.
As we are in NIC, we are using government cloud here, Meghraj, and we are using a package that is a complete package with PHP 8, PostgreSQL, Apache, this all with in one bunch. So is it come under a platform as a service?
Uh, can you repeat your question? Sorry, I missed the beginning of it. Sorry.
Means we are working in NIC, the government sector, and we are using a government cloud that Meghraj. It is called Meghraj, like AWS. It's government cloud, and we get a package, a complete package. It comes with PHP, with some version, Apache, the server, and for database for is it PostgreSQL. So we get a complete bunch, and when we use it, we can request them to install something, or we can ourselves install something. So is it come under the infrastructure as a service or platform as a service?
I would say it will provide you all the things. So, like you're talking about it, it will provide you platform and the infrastructure. On the top of that, you are building it. So there is a very thin line in between platform and infrastructure. If you are working on a core systems like servers itself, you say, I need one server where I'll do whatever I want to do with that.
Yes.
That's an infrastructure. If you're saying I need this Apache Tomcat and that sort of thing, you are taking a platform from there.
Yeah,
And,
for development, we are using it. We develop
right.
and deploy our things on that.
So you're using majorly platform as a service. And if you say that, an example, I need in this EVM machine just a software example I'm taking. So in that case, you are using a software as a service. But I don't think so. The government cloud provides an end software they build usually. So,
No, normally they don't deliver any more services, just useful and basic service they provided, not like AWS. In AWS, I want to ask, in AWS, we get platform as a service. So the developer use their own machine to develop, or AWS provide their platform to develop software on their servers, means IDE or means editors, means like that.
Yeah, they will provide the better way. What you will do, you will just have to go to the site, log in, select your machine or a platform, and start write your code. So your code is not getting written onto your system; it's getting written into the cloud.
Okay. Means all things are done on the server only.
Right, which is provided and managed by AWS.
Okay, fine, got it.
So this government cloud is a bit a different piece, and I'll talk about this a little bit more. Yeah, thanks you have touched upon that, but yeah, I'll give a little bit of more light onto it in the deployment models.
Okay, fine.
Pratik, when it comes to database management, where does it falls? Where it falls in platform or infrastructure? I'm not sure if Oracle or all these stuff. Where
So,
it is.
so if it is just a storage, then it will fall under infrastructure.
Okay.
And it actually it's a little messed up, you can say. Some people depend on the database which you are using. It might come under the platform also, or it might come under the infrastructure as a service also. And
For database, what are the options that we have in AWS?
there are many.
Okay.
Let's not get into that right now. We
Yeah,
can talk
sure.
about it separately.
Yeah, but it depends. If we want to just maintain the database or pull out some data, it will again come into infrastructure. But if we want to set up a database or properly, that nodes and everything, I think that will come into platform, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, got it. And we have multiple options in AWS from where whichever database we want to pick up and set up, we can use it. Right?
Yep. Right.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
So it's, if you see like current world, no one will call it as a platform as a service or an infrastructure as a service. We will call it as a database as a service, because you're using a full-fledged product as a database from your cloud service provider. Behind the scene, it's a combo of platform and infrastructure, you can say, in few shapes.
Okay.
So to be very crisp and clear, I would say it's a database as a service. Okay, we were talking about function as a service. Now, anything like this comes, when it's say as a service, this would be derived from these three, or that could be the combination of any two or three out of this. Now, why I'm talking about function as a service? Because this is little hot topic in today's world. This is also called as serverless architecture. And Microsoft, AWS, both of them provide this service, which is called as function as a service. Now you can focus on this. It's a function. Now, what is function? It's same as whatever we are writing in our any programming language. Function would be a few line of code which gets executed again and again. That's your function as a service. So for what purpose it is used? It is used for build and running your applications without thinking of server. Now, why it's called as serverless in another word? Because there are no servers you need to manage behind function as a service. So this is a combination of infrastructure as a service and the platform as a service. Here it will lies in between here. It's not an end user software also. It is used in end user software. Now, for what purpose it is used, it's up to us. Now, software developer can leverage this and deploy their individual functions, actions, or a piece of business logic. Now, function as a service can't be used as an end-to-end product. This will be always some piece of code which is embedded and used for some business productivity, you can say. Now, these are all event driven. Now, when this function will get executed, there should be something which might happen, then only my function will get executed. So there are very common use cases of this is scheduled task or job, process web request, or a process queue message. I'll tell you just an example, again, let's say there is a data over here. I'll take a very small example. There's a data over here which is getting generated because of some particular application, you can say. So there is one application here which generates this data. Now there is a schedule. Now I want to put, to use this data and make it to a different location or a different region. So there is no, let's say, proper mechanism when this is getting generated. Now I want to give a trigger point. No, so what trigger point I can give? Whenever there is something falls under this, my function gets executed and he kind of sends my data to this particular location. Now let's say if this data is not generating for 30 days, then there is no cost for my function. My function will only come into the picture when he has a work, when he gets that trigger. So if you say that, why I need to use a function as a service for this, can I do this on my another systems or servers which are already there in the cloud? Yes, you can do that, but there you are paying consistently, right? 24/7. If those machines or servers are in use, you will pay for them according to the runtime those machines are executing. Here it will be flexible. This will only use whenever there are events or a trigger happens to this. So little different from what we are used to do, but these will be again small pieces of codes or small pieces of chunks, which will be used for your end user software, you can say.
So this is more of a cost-effective solution. If I am only triggering, a small software or using a small software on a certain time scale, then it's a cost-effective solution. Instead of FAS, I go for FAS, which is function as a service, right?
Right, but one big difference is that in platform as a service, I can build my full complete product. Here, I can only build a small pieces of it. Just to correlate completely, I guess everyone has heard about microservices, right? So what are those microservices? Those get executed in bits and pieces. Something similar happens over function as a service. You write those small pieces and they get executed so that it reduces your burden on the platform and the infrastructure in another way, and majorly related to the cost.
So I have one question here. When we are saying function as a service, we are actually, I mean, there is a inbuilt or there is a business logic that has been already created, and we are utilizing it for our particular software or application.
You need to create it, you need to write it, you need to put it in the format so that it can execute. There is nothing created. It is just that
Okay.
uh, you have to select your programming language of that function in Node.js, PHP, C Sharp. You write your function, you integrate
But
it.
that is the same thing we are doing in platform as a service, right? We are also, there why
Hmm. Yeah,
again this
valid,
particular
valid.
thing is actually needed.
Yes, that's valid point. In a platform as a service, how do you pay?
Sorry?
In a platform as a service, how we are paying? Since the time you're taking that platform, you will pay for it continuously, right?
Okay.
Here,
Yes.
we will only pay if my function get executed. If there is no execution, there is no cost.
Okay.
So that's
I
one.
think maybe some relatable example in a live scenario, some services which is commonly used in the market, which we might be aware of, something which you
Yes,
can
yes.
give us.
Yep. Let's talk about ETL process. ETL, everyone could be familiar about it. Extract, transform, and load, right? So this usually happens on data warehouse or a backend processing of the data. Now, usually what we do, we take in specific servers to write these particular processes. Now, for those servers, for those platform, I'll pay 24 into 7, till the time I'm utilizing this. And assume that there is no schedule for an ATM, right? I want to do it on demand. Whenever something comes, it should be get processed. So rather than putting it on the dedicated, infrastructures and the platform, what I'll do, I'll write the functions for doing those tasks. So what this function will do, whenever there is something coming in the batch file, then only it gets executed. Now, when it is getting executed, then only I'll pay for it. It's like that. So
Okay, so let's say I'm using Office 365 for an example. Okay, now I'm not using Office 365 the full day. I'm only using during work hours. Just trying to relate it. Okay, so and maybe for Office 365, say Microsoft is using it as function as a service, or they have taken, or somehow they have got this configured. So if I'm only using Office 365 for 8 hours, then Microsoft will only be charged for 8 hours, something on those context.
yeah, but again, Office 365 is not a service, according to that, they don't charge, but logic point of view, you're right, you can say.
Okay.
Pratik, we have different scheduled applications, AutoSys, CA, and mainframes and all that. How we can relate with, we use those for jobs and events, right? How can
Yeah.
that be different from?
So there you are utilizing again a platform.
Correct, yeah.
Here you will use them as an function as a service. The one big difference is only saving the cost, nothing else, I would say.
Like we don't have to buy that particular application from AWS itself. We can.
You write your code, you configure it, and you pay when the code get executed. Now, let's say your batch file doesn't run for a month, XYZ reason. वहाँ पे फिर भी you will have to pay for it, right? Here, you don't need to pay if it is not getting executed. It's on demand infra and the platform, you can say. And when I say on demand, it's specifically when there is a use, when there is
a need. Okay, yes.
Executed.
Okay.
Okay. This is usually used for responses and events and alert without the complex infrastructure, you can say, associated with it. So uh, if you're working in a microservices, then you will come across this very often. If you're not like very familiar with microservices, it will be take a little bit time, and it's not rooted right now to the end system. You can say it's not used very rigorously, but people have started thinking about this. If I put more and more into function as a service, it will reduce my cost in an overall applications in a big difference, depend on in what shape and format I'm using it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Pratik.
Yeah.
If function as a service reducing cost only get paid when your services are executed like a PS. So my question is a little confusing that why anyone use then P platform as service if function as service is available and all things are available there, the development, execution, and charges are all less. Then why to use a platform as service?
I can't build my complete end-to-end software into function as a service. It will be always small services and the business logics which he can handle, right? I can't do full end-to-end configurations and all those things. Function as a service is usually used for a task and recurring things which are happening. So like lift and shift of data, doing an automatic messages, scheduling, or a processing of queue messages, things like that. Platform as a service, now I'm building end to end everything, right? Where I'm writing my full application code, right? So that can't be achieved in function as a service. And again, these are the services which are getting created as in when the cloud is becoming more mature. So it's not something which can replace platform as a service. It's something which comes on the top of it. Now it's up to you, if you want to use it or not. It is not like, complete a game changer for you. Something, which helps us to improve on the productivity and reduce the cost. To your question, why we cannot use? Because it can't help you to build a complete product. That's why.
Yeah, like SMS service, email service, it comes under function as a service. That's what you're
Right,
saying.
right. Exactly. That's what I'm telling you. Right.
Okay, fine.
There is a service called as Lambda in AWS. So that's a function as a service. There is a service in Azure called as Azure Function. That's again a function as a service. Sometimes you get a question on this. That's why I started it here itself. Now, when we take an example of Lambda, when we talked about it, you'll get more clarity onto it, how it is used, why it is used, those kind of things. Now, if I don't talk about it now and directly talk about Lambda, then again it creates a difficult to understand it. That's why we have started it here. We'll do the assignment when we actually talk about Lambda.
Pratik, Gargi here. Just wanted to clarify one thing which you mentioned at the beginning of the slide. Is it a combination of high infrastructure as a service and platform as a service, or it's just taking some of the components from both the services?
It's taking some of the components from both the services.
Okay.
Because you are writing your function, right? For writing
Yeah.
function, what I need a programming language that is platform, right? It's a
Okay.
.NET, whatever. Now to run that function, what I'll need server infrastructure.
Which is not okay. Yeah, right. Got it. Thanks.
Okay. Now let's move ahead a little bit. So we had just discussed about service model. Now there comes a deployment model. Now what are the deployment models? How you are utilizing cloud, in which particular place where you are. So private cloud, community cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud. Usually people don't talk about community cloud. You will always see public, private, and the hybrid cloud. Now, as the word is telling you, private cloud, enterprise owned or a leased. So there is only one organization who is utilizing the cloud, then it becomes their private cloud. Or he has leased that for their own use cases. Community cloud is a shared infrastructure for specific community. And the government cloud we talked about, right? So that also falls under the community cloud. It could be used by state government, central government, everyone together, but it will be only used by government organizations like that. There's a community of government organizations, NGOs, right? They want to use some services together, so they can use this community cloud. Public cloud sold to public mega scale infrastructure. Everyone, you, me, any organization. Go ahead, visit the website, create the account, start utilizing the services. So sold to everyone. That's the public cloud. Hybrid cloud is a combination of public and private. Now, when I talk about enterprise, enterprise might say that, I don't want to move to the cloud like 100%. I want to put my data into the private cloud and I want to use the public cloud for my web application, right? So I put my web server, app server there, and I use my DB servers into the private cloud and make that connectivity. That's a hybrid cloud. To make it more clear, private is a single organization, community is a several organizations working in the same domain. So they distribute the cost. So as compared to private cloud, community cloud cost will be little bit less because there are several organizations. They are kind of distributing them amongst them. Public cloud is for everyone. Anyone can go and start utilizing it. And hybrid cloud is a combination of public and private. So usually, if you're working with enterprise, you will come across these places very often when you're working on the hybrid cloud. So I'll put my database into the private cloud, uh, and I can put my web servers or web application in the public cloud and make a connectivity in between them. In that way, I have a high security on my data, and I have a flexibility, scalability onto the web applications where I need that dynamic features of the cloud and in the connectivity between. This should be pretty clear, right? AWS, Azure, these are all like public cloud. When VMware and all those things were helping us to set up our own cloud, those were example of private clouds, you can say, because only we were utilizing, only our organizations were utilizing. Nowadays, if you're working with startups or a small scale organization or mid-sized organization, they'll mostly go with the public cloud. If you're working with a big organization where they have their own data centers or maybe banking, insurance, finances from, they will more focus on the private and the public, like a combo, or maybe only on the private. So depend on particular which organization you're working with will come across the deployment models of cloud. Now the services might vary, depend on your service provider you're working with or in which particular cloud you're working. Now, services, advantages, disadvantages, deployment model, service model. This all depends on your service provider. Now, let's say there is one service provider, he might not provide everything. He just provide the services he is familiar with, or he want to do the business. So you won't get a 360-degree picture whenever you are working in the organization, and that's why we come up with so many questions. Pretty common. Now, when we start with the services also, this will again come. Most of the time it happens that students usually focus on the area where they are used to or where they are working. So you don't have to restrict yourself throughout the training for only that piece which you know or which you are working with. There'll be many aspects of this, where you haven't worked or maybe you haven't seen, but we have to go through it. Otherwise, we won't get a 360-degree view of AWS or any cloud computing. And also in exam, it focused on like all the aspects of AWS. There are many services. Whether I'm not talking about AWS, whether you go to any cloud service and see n number of services. So we'll kind of go through them one by one as and when they come. If you see the flow, we have talked about definitions, we have talked about characteristics, we have talked about service models, deployment models. Let's take a little bit of different angle, we talked about advantages and disadvantages. Someone is not on. Any questions in the deployment models, you can say? Anyone has let me know? If not, we have already seen advantages of cloud. So again,
Pratik, Swapnil this side. In public cloud, you said that sold to public. Can you elaborate a bit on it? What does that mean, sold to public? That anybody can access it? Is it access wise we are talking about?
Utilization access, you can say any pieces. Like let's say we as an individual or any college student, assume he wants to access or he want to build something on his own, right? So
Right.
go to AWS or Azure or Google, create his account and start building on his product. That's
Okay.
everyone. Let's say if I want to have a private cloud, that will become, I can't lease, right? There is certain process.
Authorization will not
Right.
have.
Right. When I talked about community cloud also, I should be a part of that specific community.
Community.
So that's the difference. So public cloud, anyone can go. So like if you're in that group yesterday, I told you to create an account.
Account, yeah.
Anyone can create that account like that.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay, now Talking about advantages, we already discussed about it, like reduce the cost, automate it, flexibility, shared resources, agility, scalability. Let's talk about disadvantages. What could be the possible disadvantages of cloud? Now, if you see, AWS came into the market pretty early, 2006-7. It's been almost 15, 16 years. Cloud itself, we are talking about it from 2002, 2003. But still, people are not 100% sure. There are many questions. Should I do this or not? And nowadays, they're pretty common that you will heard news about, this downtime, that security breach, that application down, things like that. So looking at this like scenario and whatever we have discussed till now, what do you think? What are the possible disadvantages of cloud? And or in other way, why we have taken this much amount of time to migrate? Still, there are few things which won't be going to the cloud. Still, there are many questions unanswered. Any thoughts?
Disadvantages you want to ask, right?
Yeah.
So in that, for small thing, if my requirement is smaller, then it will become difficult. Uh,
I would not say specifically that, because let's say, I just need one server. I can take that from public cloud. I can do that. So that's what their motto is, to take that to millions of customers.
okay. Or we can, if you want to run that service for a longer period and my infrastructure is big, then it becomes expensive to
Uh,
maintain that service for a long time.
I can't say that if it is a tried and tested. In few cases, it might be, but not in every case. Because if you see, normal cost of setting up a machine in a data center or a storage space. Let's say if I need a 10 GB storage also, it costs me around 4-5 lakhs on premises. Cloud
Right.
may it's not like that. It's hardly few dollars a month.
Right.
So one big thing was, Zeri was talking about in the beginning. What was that? He was talking about security.
Security.
Right. So that's a one big pain, or most of the organization get scared there. What if it goes out? What if someone has an access? To be specific, let's say you have started utilizing cloud services, and tomorrow you say, let's take me to the data center and show me where is my data. Not possible, right? Show me what kind of security you are applied. What is your physical premises? No, you're not allowed to do that. So these are the questions, which are there, but it's not like that you can't work upon them. So everything can be taken care of. It's like whenever you discuss about cloud security, the shared responsibility, ours as well as the cloud service provider. So what are the biggest disadvantages of cloud is security. The data located in another country. Now GDPR coming into the picture, this has been distorted little. You can't put your customer data into some another country, but again within the same country, where that is, what kind of physical premises is that, which machine is that. You're not allowed to do that. If it is your own data center, you can go and check anything, right? So
Yeah.
that's one thing. Second is privacy. So what is this? You have I have got very random questions on this. So, and frankly speaking, they are valid. So whatever someone adds a kind of a cable to my servers where my data is, and they might be stealing my data behind my back, or they might be utilizing my data from some for different purposes also. I might never know, for what purpose they are tracking my servers or my data usage, or what kind of in and out is happening. It could be anything like that. That doesn't happen, but yeah, still a valid cost. One big pain with cloud services is data transfer charges are additional. Whenever you are working in the cloud and you want to transfer your data from one place to another, there will be a clause. So whenever there is a data transfer happen, so whether it's an on-prem or cloud, or again cloud, so any sort of data transfer, there will be a cost related to it. And you have to keep this in mind, when you are deploying your applications where you are managing your data transfer, or where you are doing your data transfer within the cloud. So whenever there is a data transfer happening from one place to another place, specifically from one geography to another geography, there will be a cost involved with that. Now, I'm not going into calculation right now. It's up to you, where you are putting your things, what is the distance, for what purpose you are using. But keep this in mind, your data transfer charges are additional. This doesn't come with your normal cost of servers, database, applications and things like that.
Pratik, can you just give that how we measure that? Like data transfer, are we talking about a certain amount of GBs transferred, or
Yes,
how is it? Yeah.
yes, yes. GBs transfer, right? So
Okay.
whatever data you are transferring from one application to like one place to another place, whether it's within cloud, whether it's out of cloud, you'll have to pay accordingly. One more example, if I want to give, let's say I have made my setup into India, okay,
Right.
in any cloud. Tomorrow I
Okay.
say that I want to move this setup or replicate this setup to, let's say, UK. So whenever
Okay.
I'm doing this, I'll have to pay for it. Or if there is a recurring data load setup from India to UK or US, that cost will come as a recurring to you, and which is little bit higher in terms of any cloud service provider. Because
Okay. So is this what is called lift and shift?
yeah,
Like,
lift
okay.
and shift also is fine, or you can say there are some applications which are global also. In that case, you have a regular load.
Okay.
So the baseline is whenever there is a geographical data transfer in the cloud, there will be a cost associated with it.
And one more thing, like security, this I wanted to explore because it's a very big issue. So if I say that data located in other countries, and that's why I feel that my company data is not secure.
Hmm.
So how, as a say cloud service provider, we are saying like AWS or Azure that this is not a problem because uh, this is the reason, right? That security wise, if I say that the people are not 100% going to cloud,
Hmm.
can we say these are the reasons that making them think?
Yeah, these are the reason they are
uh,
making them think, but these is not a showstopper or a roadblocker, I would say, because these things
okay,
can be worked upon. So, like I talked about GDPR, if you have a team, governance, compliance on the top of it, and
right,
your country is following that, they has to follow that. So that's why whether it's AWS, Azure, or Google, they have their data center everywhere in the world because you
right.
can't put their data, some customer from India into some another server. So that's been taken care of. Second thing you're talking about security is um, it's again in our hand also, like how we are managing. I'll tell you the example. Let's say if I'm building on one server or an application, and if I keep ports open, if I keep the access open, it's up to me, how I have set up it. I can't blame for that to the cloud service provider. If I have
Right,
given public access to something which was confidential to my organization, that's my bad. There is nothing that cloud service provider can do there. And
right,
there are multiple checks you can apply on the security. So it's on the account level, it's on the network level, uh, and network ke baad it's on the application level, it's on the server level. So there are multiple checks you can apply. It's not like that there is nothing given, it is all open. But this is like how we are leveraging and what are compliance. So again, if you go into this, we can talk for days and days. But to your
yeah,
question,
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
I can
not.
read up on it. I
Yeah,
got the context. Yeah.
right. And to your question, the answer would be like, this is the concern, but this can't stop the utilization of cloud and how it is moving, I would say.
Yeah.
But Pratik, I think the disadvantages you're showing, isn't it more related to public cloud? Because if I just refer to one of
Yes,
refer to Amol, he said we have Meghraj for the government cloud. So under such concerns or such circumstances,
will be reduced
security.
there, right? Will be reduced there, you're right. Because in those cases, I don't transfer my data. My customer are itself local. Other
Yeah.
case would be if I have, I'm just talking about community cloud. So
Hmm.
my data is shared with very few people, or that premises itself is shared with very few people. In the private cloud, it's again very secure, right? There is no other customer who is utilizing that. So in that case, it becomes more secure. So this is more from a public cloud I'm talking about. You're right.
And
that's
what
where
about
you
the
have
redundancy? Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
No, someone asked question, so.
Yeah, the charges is according to that, no? Private, public,
Yes,
um,
definitely. Yep. It will change.
as it is more
Public
secure.
cloud is very like effective on the cost piece. Whether private
Yes.
cloud comes with a higher cost.
Yes, sir.
What about the redundancy? Has there been any instances wherein some of the servers which is being procured through Amazon on cloud has gone down and the data has been lost? What happens? Has there been any cases?
So the server has gone down and data lost. These are two different pieces. There could be different reasons for it. But if you hold for this question like for 5-10 minutes, I'll explain it in like better way.
Sure.
I have taken a note of it. So let's talk about it.
And Pratik, this is what you mentioned about public cloud. Are there any disadvantages of the other clouds?
There could be, but it depends how they have been configured. I'll just give you an example. I'm working on the private cloud support. Okay.
Mhm.
I haven't taken a backup or I don't have any secondary machine. And my primary machine goes down for any XYZ reason. Right? So in that case, there could be a downtime, there could be a small amount of system outages, those kind of things. But as
But those
compared
can be,
taken care of.
yeah, correct. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. But these challenges, we do not have anything to do with it, like the migration which you mentioned and the security privacy.
Yeah,
These,
right.
these disadvantages we can't even take care of, right? Because it's not in our hands. So
We can because the firewall, the access, the network
okay.
access, the application access, we can again tighten security on the top of it. We can access the daily logs, look for the loopholes, improve upon it. So it can be taken care of. It's not like that it's completely a
But
black
it's
box.
a challenging job.
Yeah, it's a challenge,
Yeah.
right? But there are millions of hackers sitting simultaneously to get into your thing.
Yeah, right. Thanks.
Okay. Now, talking from migration point of view, it will happen everywhere. So let's say, if I have working on ABC provider now, I say I want to move to XYZ because he is providing me a little bit of less cost. So when you do this sort of migration, there will be always a compatibility. Not necessary that the things which you are working with first provider will work exactly in the similar manner onto the second provider. There is one more challenge usually we face with the cloud about the legacy system. Whatever systems I'm working right now, I want to move to cloud. They might not be 100% available in the same shape and format because those were the legacy systems. That could be one challenge, when you're moving to the cloud, you might come across. The other challenges uh, are like, talking majorly it relies into this cost and security piece and migration piece. Now, if we talk about it in more detail, what are the benefits of cloud? We already discussed. It's like no capex cost. There is no initial investment. If I want to go with the public cloud or any cloud, you can say I'll pay my cost according to the usage. I can use them as in service. I'll pay as you go. The one thing is very clear, which is provisioning of hardware and applications on the fly. I'll specifically talk about hardware. When I am into the data center, what happens? Those machines, those hardwares will go to scrap after every 7-8 years. That's not my headache, it's cloud service provider who will replace those machines for me. One machine is cost around like minimum 7 to 8 lakhs, depends on the size and shape. So now I don't have to work upon it. Up same goes with the applications and the new use case which are coming into the market. So I talked about RPA or maybe VR or games and these sort of things. I don't have to like build it from the scratch. My cloud service provider will bring all those services for me and I can use it as an application. So it's not necessary that every change would be very difficult for you. It will be available. It's just that you have to pay for it. Now, talking about all these things, what do you think, what are the type of businesses which have got benefited most from the cloud computing? or any examples, whichever comes to your mind. What are the type of organizations or things they have got benefited from the cloud most?
Like an e-commerce websites and all that.
Right. What else? E-commerce.
Even today, when the contact center solution has gone public from Genesis, where their share increased from 250 to 500 in the last couple of years.
Right. What else? OTT, right? Online streaming and this videos and music and all that stuff. Or in another way, any small organization or a mid-scale organization also you can add into it. I'll specifically talk about e-commerce, but it's all same. Why this organization got benefited maximum? Because they were not ready to put all the money into IT infra. They want something that can be readily used, which was available from the cloud service provider. Specifically talking about e-commerce, they wanted to sell services and products on the web, but they didn't had an idea about their growth. Today I have 100 customer, tomorrow I might have millions customer, day after tomorrow it might be wrap up for me. Right? It's that dynamic. So we didn't wanted to put all the money into IT after. There were other part of business that needs to be taken care of, which are like inventory, supply chain, marketing, and whatnot. And we needed an IT infrastructure which can be there, easily configurable, and which would be nearby my customer. So they get in reduced latency, they get in high performance. I need to grow my business from one country to another country, and everywhere it should be available. That happened like very fast within this few years. And I need to pay for the services which I am using, and that too after the use. So I first use it, generate my business, earn my money. After that, I pay for my bills. It's like that. If I pay upfront, there is a less cost. There are different angles to the costing. But looking at this OTT platforms, this startups, you can say WhatsApp, Ola, Uber, there are millions, for example, like this e-commerce, all this got benefited most from it. Why not the enterprise? Because they already had their setup. They're already managing it. They're already paying for it. They already had a setup for everything. Now, why enterprise moving to the cloud? Because whenever they think about replacing the hardware or adding a new setup to it, cost of that versus the cost of cloud, they kind of are doing the comparison. And that's why it took a little bit of time for enterprises to the cloud compared to the small scale, mid-size or a startup organizations that we talked about. Now, common use cases of cloud is everything. Whatever you're doing from an IT standpoint of view, website hosting, application hosting, content delivery, media distribution, analytics, computing, storage, backup, DR, development, deployment, test, whatever you're thinking, that can be done into the cloud very easy. Now,
Pratik, I have a question in terms of DR situation. So will this be something in your upcoming slides?
Can you elaborate a question a little bit?
So for example, if I took, maybe infrastructure as a service or platform as a service, either case, how is the redundancy managed within Amazon? For example, so they have multiple data centers across the globe, and they provide some service levels or some redundancy already. How that works?
Yeah, so service to service it will differ. I would say every service has a different number. Minimum, it goes to like for some services is 99.99, for some services is like 99.9, like that. But Amazon do have multiple data centers in every region. If one goes down, there'll be another one to help you to like support you with your request. And in like very little shape and format, I can say it also depends on how things have been set up. Now, I can only talk about that particular piece when we do the assignment. So how it is set up and what is in kind of redundancy for that one particular service. And it varies a little bit service to service also.
There was some instance maybe 1 or 2 years back with Amazon, wherein the US sector went completely down. You're aware about it?
Yes, it was not the complete sector. It was few data centers within that region, and that too for very less amount of time. And nowadays, it's pretty common. You bring out any cloud service provider, you will have some sort of downtime.
Okay.
You take it in this way, let's say if I have a 10 data center, there'll be some maintenance activity at some point in time in some data center. It's about how I will manage it, right? So that's how, there will be few histories of this kind of thing. You just have to see the impact and the time period, and it's better, when you are opting for any cloud service provider, you should think about this, you should check about this history.
Okay.
Uh, I get this question too, cloud and virtualization. If not now, after few services. So that's why I've added this piece here. What happens usually, whether it's Azure or whether it's AWS, most of the services are named, or we call them as, virtual server, virtual desktop, virtual database, right? Virtual storage. So this virtual piece comes along with cloud everywhere, and the people get confused. If you're talking everything like this, then what's the difference in between cloud and virtualization, right? So is virtualization cloud? These two things are same. It's not actually apple to apple same. Virtualization is a technology which is used in the cloud. Now, if I break it down, what is virtualization? It's just a mirror image of something, right? Replication of something, whether it's an operating system, server, storage, or a network. Now, this is a basic building block of cloud computing, because I am replicating it, right? With this piece, cloud gives you self-service capability, elasticity, automated management, scalability, pay as you go. These all are not part of virtualization. Virtualization is just a replica. With that replica, I get this scalability, flexibility, payment model, and all those things. This all comes with the cloud computing. So if you see the difference is, cloud computing is way more than what you are getting into the virtualization. And specifically, you have to focus on this self-service capability, elasticity, automated management, scalability, pay as you go. These were the services which were not a part of virtualization. And this should not come in the beginning or in the middle of the training. That's why I have added this here. So you can say whatever is happening behind the scene when you are requesting for the services, this is what will come into your mind. What's the difference in between these two, cloud and virtualization? Any questions on this?
Can you give an example?
Like virtualization and cloud, that's what you're saying, right?
Cloud computing, yes.
Yes. So let's say if I'm doing a virtualization at my end on my system, right? I can do that for my server. But
Okay.
it is just a replication. I'm creating a VM out of it, right? But that VM don't have a elasticity, scalability, or I won't be able to give it to someone else, right? It's for me. So it's only virtualization. It's just a replica of it, right? But when I talked about cloud, you're using, let's say, servers in the cloud. So they are working on hypervisor. They have a virtualization as a base on that. But on the other hand, they also have a scalability, flexibility. You can anytime increase CPU, RAM, storage of those machines. Whether if I am doing at my end, I won't be able to do it.
But isn't it like the bigger version of virtualization called
Yes.
cloud computing?
Yes. Bigger version with these different things, what I'm talking about. Elasticity, scalability, automation management, and those stuff.
Because even if I'm requesting some space on Amazon, I think what Amazon does is, they create a
Base is
virtual
that
space
only.
for.
Right. Base is virtualization only. It's a basic building block of it. But cost and all, the flexibility, the scalability, so you create a space, you get it from Amazon, but tomorrow you say I need from 10 to 100. How does that is happening? That's happening because of the cloud.
Because I think that the major investment which is being done by Amazon, I think it's not possible on a organization level.
Right, because they have millions of customers.
Yeah.
So Pratik, this scalability is kind of also there in virtualization, as in like manually, like whenever we need more RAM or storage in the server, so we can increase the RAM of the VMs and make it work, right? But
Right.
it's not like similar to the cloud service where
We have
it's
to
like-
buy, procure, add,
Right.
again the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's move a little bit ahead. History of cloud. Now, Amazon play a very key role here, like very early comer into this market. How they came actually, this piece like 2005, it was a recession period. Amazon was purely e-commerce organization. They had like hundreds of servers and infrastructure built and ready for their e-commerce site, but there was not utilization. The thought came from there, if I have 100 servers and I'm only utilizing 50 out of them, I'm giving just you an example. So what should I do with the rest 50? Can I give it to someone else for on the rent? That's where the journey of Amazon Web Services started. So the starting was from infrastructure as a service, majorly, and then we moved to each and every aspect of cloud services. Every month, every quarter, you will see there will be a few new services, new changes into the UI. Then in 2008, Microsoft came into the picture. And then if you see the list of this provider, it's an endless. Google, Rackspace, Salesforce, VMware, Alibaba, DigitalOcean, and whatnot. Now, my question to you guys would be, why AWS? Why not someone? Why, uh, or maybe how you would select the service provider amongst all of these? What will be your take, while selecting the product? I know we can't take that call on our end, it's an organization, but still, I'd say why I should go with Amazon or why I should go with Azure or a Google. What would be your take on that? Now, question to this link you will get into the exam, this why, or what could be the selection criteria if you're going for a foundation exam?
Yeah, hi, Pratik. Might be the architecture perspective, which is the architecture and the user friendly for the users to use and access the services. So that can be the reason.
Right, user friendliness, or a support documents or a support line, that kind of thing, right?
I think there are various factors. Sorry, so Swarnika, please go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead, Zari.
Okay, I think there are various factors. First is if I'm an organization, I would be definitely looking at security. Then the second section, as Swarnika mentioned, user-friendly, redundancy, and of course costing. I think maybe 4 or 5 factors.
Right. Multiple factors are there. You're right. Costing is a very big piece. Who is providing the services at the lesser cost?
And who's actually providing the services at the lesser cost, Pratik?
It depends actually, like what services you are using and what shape and format you are using. But I'd say cluster clear billing is also a debatable point. So I have seen AWS bills are little clear, for understanding purpose, like where you are paying, why you are paying, that kind of thing. So you can rework on it. Whether on the other aspect, I haven't seen that much of clear billing. And who is providing the services at the lesser cost, it's completely different field, because what combination of services you are using, it depends on that, right? There is no like one word answer, go with this, go with that, because service cost is not only the service cost, it's including support cost, support line, after sales service and all those things. Okay. Why AWS? You talked about those points, but all right, we can add this list and we can again talk about it. But the major piece which I want to highlight was worldwide infra. Now, why I usually AWS is ahead of all the cloud service providers. They started early and they had a presence everywhere in the world. So I started with India. Tomorrow I want to go to Singapore, UK, or US, and my cloud service provider is not there. Then again I'll have to find somewhere else. That doesn't happen with AWS anytime. They had a presence almost everywhere in the world. number of services. This is also a very big plus. Now you can see a tough competition in between AWS and Azure. Almost similar services you will find in both service providers. But in the beginning, AWS was having highest number of services, and that was also one of the points where user was thinking, wherever I get, I should get it under one umbrella, so that my multiple vendor management system goes away. So that was again in one point which gives the benefits to AWS, where I get a maximum number of services and the cost-effective resources, crystal clear gleaning. That's why AWS got a little bit of ahead of everyone. Other pieces you talked about was user friendliness, support services. You look for the downtime. We're talking about redundancies, right? So you look for the histories, till in these 15, 16 years, what was the downtime? Was it region specific? Was it geography specific? What was the time period of it, right? According to that, then you can select.
AWS is operating in China or it's Alibaba?
No, it's operating in China also, but it's not direct. It's indirect. I haven't gone into the detail of it like thoroughly, but yes, it is there through different channel parts.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it also depend on the application or the platform we are using, which it is support more?
So you're talking about cost or you're talking about AWS?
No, cloud services means as you are talking about platform Java, HP, whichever most effective and supportable with which cloud services, AWS, Google. It
Right,
also
right.
depend on it.
No, it's not. Usually people have that notion. If you are working on a Windows operating system, I'll get a better support in Azure. If I'm working on Linux Unix related, I'll get a better thing in AWS. It's not like that. It's all neutral. It's all everywhere available. It's all bundled cost in another way. Support is also in a different way. If you have a regular support, you have a premium support, you have a developer support. So I wouldn't say it like that. This is good in AWS, this operating system or this application, and this is not good in another service provider. It's not like that, because indirectly everyone is getting paid whatever they are utilizing or whatever they are adding into their services.
And means it's like a myth that all .NET developments should only use for Azure.
No, it's
It can
not
only
like
use
that.
for AWS also.
Yeah, it can be used because those machines are available. I can create any Windows server in AWS.
Yes, yes.
Pratik, this is more of an exam question that you are putting forward.
Uh, Not exactly, but you get a question linked to this. If you are working specifically for a foundation exam, so you get a question linked to these infrastructure or a security services or a costing piece of it, or which what would you look for when you're kind of going for a cloud service provider. So if you're moving for a foundation exam, 20-30% of it is on this page: software, platform, infrastructure, and cloud computing models, like that, service model and deployment model. 30-40% will be this particular thing in the foundation exam.
Okay.
And any which way I have to talk about it, because it creates that link, when we jump into the AWS now. This is the point where now we are entering into Amazon services. So we know everything, about the basics and the backends, and now we are entering. Let's create that flow in both the ways easy. And we have to link the services in AWS to infrastructure platform and service model deployment model. It helps us to create that understand. That's why the flow is a little different. Now, how does AWS look like basically, and what is their spread across? So, usually, when you kind of think about AWS, it's spread across multiple geographies. So when I say multiple geographies, these are again physical geographies. Now every geography is called as region. So is region an actual data center? No, region is just a geography. Now within that region, AWS will have multiple data centers. Those multiple data center is the where you will host, you will deploy your services. Now you will never find a combination one region, one availability, or a one data center. Now these data centers are again called as AZ or availability zone. So in exam you might come across AZs as in wording. What is that? It's an availability zone. Now what is availability zone? Behind the scene it could be single or a multiple data center. If you see the hierarchy, there is a region. Within region there are multiple availability zones. Now what is that availability zone? It could be single or multiple data centers clubbed together. So this is where I get my redundancy. I have multiple availability zone within that particular region. If there is one goes down, there would be another one which will help me for my services. And it also depends on how I have set up my services. Is my service deployed into multiple availability zone or not? Is the storage I am taking is redundant over across all the availability zone or not? So this will vary service to service again, but you will never see a combination. You are in a single region and you have only single availability. No, there will be always two or more. Now this more piece, like two or more, three, four, five, six, it depends on the business growth, customer base, future growth and demand in that particular region. There are few regions you will see three, four, five, six also availability zones. So if you go to North Virginia, it's more of a Silicon Valley. You have a 6 or 8 availability. Go to India, specifically Mumbai region, you will see there are 3 different availability zones. It's like that. Just to show you, how does this look like? So you have a region. In that region, you have a different availability zone. Within the availability zone, it could be single or a multiple data center. It is not very derived. There are 2, 3, or 1 data center, but yeah, it's a bundle of multiple data center or a single data. All those availability zone within the regions are connected to each other. So if you want to transfer, connect, communicate, it can be done within that particular. These availability zones are at least 100 miles away. So if something happens to them, let's say there is a flood, there is a downtime, or there is short circuit, right? There should be something another which will have to support you. I just taken like random example for that, but there could be any another reason for those downtime. You will never see the combination where you only have one regional availability. There could be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 multiple availability zones within that particular region. Now, in which region, in which availability zone you are adding the service, it's up to you. Any questions on availability zone? Now you definitely get a questions on availability zone in AWS with different scenarios.
What will be the difference on this side, Pratik? So, availability zone, I can select. Can I select different countries also if I'm running a service in India?
Okay.
And okay, and then what advantage or disadvantage it gives?
It only gives us an advantage. So there is no disadvantage because of the redundancy point of view. Second,
Okay.
you have to choose your region. So where I want to play. So like where I want to put my applications or services. If you say India, so you can either choose Mumbai or a Hyderabad, depend on you. If you are in US side, North Virginia or Ohio. If you are on like Singapore side, you will have another region. So it up to you. When you select it, inside that you will see multiple availability zone and where you want to deploy your service or a region. So availability zone in a very clear way are a distinct location within that particular region, you can say. And they are isolated from one another so that if one fails, there will be no impact on the another.
Let's say I'm setting a availability or for backing up or piggybacking on Swapnil's question. Let's say I have requested for a multi-zone, multi-availability zone, and then I have my data in India and then maybe in Europe, for example. So am I responsible for this regional data storage, one in Europe for GDPR perspective and one in India wherein we don't have GDPR? So who's responsible? Will Amazon take care of it or I have to take care of it?
You will have to take care of it because whenever you are setting this backup or transfer from one region to another. It's up to you, you know, how you are doing, what is the frequency when you are doing, what is the storage you are using. It's all configuration, all things are up to you, how you are setting it up.
So that's why some of the services, maybe Make My Trip, are not in Europe, because probably they don't have GDPR set up something on the similar instances, right?
Yes, right.
Okay.
Okay. On the connectivity
Like,
point of view, yeah, go ahead. I thought someone was asking question. Okay. So on the connectivity piece, like how these availability zones are connected. They are connected within the region through low latency network. So again, if something fails, this won't have any impact. But in another way, if you want to transfer, they can transfer data within those availability. And every region is completely independent. Every region is completely independent. And in availability zone also, they have a different power or sockets and all those things. So if something fails at one availability zone, it will only fail at that one particular availability zone. It won't have a higher impact on further availability zones in that particular region. Okay, you might get a confused a little bit on this, but we will again talk about this multiple times, you know, when we go into the services actually. For now, please make sure that, you know, within a region, you have multiple availability zones. Every availability zone has a distinct location inside that region, and all these regions are independent. Now, if we move ahead,
Pratik,
yeah.
Swapnil, this side, that part, like connection wise, how they're connected. So, do we have any dedicated lines as well, or it is just through internet we are getting connection? So,
No,
how
dedicated line. It's a low latency network, and these are dedicated lines. It's not
dedicated
over the,
line, low latency? Okay.
yeah, it's not over the. Now, how many regions and availability zones are there? These numbers keeps on changing, and you don't also have to keep a track on it. So if you want updated number, you can check on the site. So there are hundreds of availability zones. You can say around 90 or 98. You can check on the site. But sometimes I get that question. That's why I clarify. Now, a few months before, you know, few months back, you know, they had made some standardization and changes. So mostly you won't see two availability zones. You will at least see three availability zones at most of the region. Now, how does this piece looks like? I'll show you on the AWS site a little bit. I'm into one of the service right now, which is EC2. This is for servers. If you see here, this could be inactive. That's why it was taking time. Okay. So if you see, these are all my regions: North Virginia, Ohio, North California, Oregon. So US West, you know, US East, US West. There are different actual location naming is like this: US East 1, US East 2, US West 1, West 2, like that. Asia Pac, AP South 2, which is Hyderabad, AP South 1, which is Mumbai. Within Mumbai, now there will be multiple data centers. Like just an example, one would be in Mumbai, one would be in Airoli, one would be in Panjab, things like that. Now, every region, there will be multiple availability. So let's say right now we have selected Ohio. In Ohio, there are three different availabilities: AZ1, AZ2, AZ3. US East 2 is your region. A, B, C are your availability. It says enable additional availability zone. If you need, you can enable additional availability zone. This is again a new feature added like few months back. So if you say, I need one more additional zone, you can enable that specifically as per your requirement. Let's say if I go back to North Virginia.
Pratik, why we'll need to enable one more availability zone?
Sometimes, it depends on the application. I want to put my things at 4-5 different places. So in that case, if I need an additional availability zone, uh, you can do that. There is no specific answer to that. It's just that I need it. It is available on your.
Okay, thanks.
See here, you will see there are 6 base availability zones. So, US East 1, this is the region, North Virginia, A, B, C, D, E, F. There are 6 different availability zones. And
So which each availability zone, there is a cost which is increased upon.
No, it's up to you, in which particular availability zone you are adding, or do you want to add it like 2 or 3 different places, things like that.
Is it for the latency of accessing the applications or something like that?
Latency would be directly impacted by region, geography, not by availability zone. Availability zones are more from an redundancy and availability point of view. So, just an example, my application is not that critical to business. I will only deploy it on one particular availability zone. Whether if something happens for a few minutes or let's say like that, it's okay for me. My business application is very critical to me. I can't even expect a single second of a downtime. I'll deploy it at multiple places. How many? You have to decide. How many versions or how many instance of that particular application you need? It's up to you. The more instance you create, the more you'll have to. It's like that.
Okay.
This calculation go pretty weird when you think a lot about it, but you have to keep like standard process, on-premises पे कितने instance थे, तो cloud में कितने होना चाहिए. According to that, you can figure it out very easily. And if there are any downtime service outages are there, specifically, they will be mentioned here. So you can say this service is operating normally and there are no schedules. If there are something, they will be added over here. You get notified too also, but I haven't seen much happening on those lines. I'll just show you maybe Hyderabad.
Yeah, Pratik.
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, the availability zone means one data center, as you are saying, and you deploy on the one availability zone, and it got some problem. So my application won't work, and
Right.
And it's
But-
upon me to deploy it on multiple availability zone.
Right. If it's, you say that it's very critical to me, I need it running 100% of the time. I need to deploy it at multiple places. And there are more services on the top of it which will help you to do that. They will come like, sequence things like how I make it 100% available. That piece is yet to come.
So how would I decide means how to deploy multiple services if I are using one data center and it is not that much means not break anytime.
Got you. I got your question actually, but it's not a standard. This is only one data center. There could be multiple data centers, right? And almost everywhere there are at least 2. So you can see this. This doesn't come out, but yeah, this is how it will be. This could be 2, it could be 3. It is just that they are very close to each other. They are managed at their end.
Yeah, but it's more responsibility to deploy in multiple data centers. Means availability zones.
Yes, it's your responsibility to deploy it into multiple availability zones.
When something got damaged or breakdown, cloud or AWS will not manage for me for that.
They will manage, but see, what was the reason of failure? That is important actually. So if it from a performance side of view, you have done something wrong, that's altogether different. From AWS standpoint of view, it is managing. They will do that replications and backend management and all those things on your behalf. That's why I have never seen that there is something scheduled anywhere here. If that happens also, they do behind the scenes automatically without hampering it. Now we were talking about that downtime. Zeri was talking about it like few years back. There was a downtime in US region. They happened they were specific to single availability zone in that. So in that case, your business would have impacted like that.
Yeah, yes, I just asking about the watch time. That's why.
Right. So initially, whenever you are looking or when you are creating it, I should have my setup at multiple availability zone based on what particular application I have.
Yes, that's why I'm asking. It's the main suggestion is that put it on multiple availability zone, so we can
To have
get
an
out of it.
100% availability zone.
Well, maybe a question, Pratik, because if you refer to the previous slide that you were showing, in one availability zone, there are more than one data centers, right?
Yes.
So if even if I'm putting my services or I'm taking service on one availability zone, still I have a level of redundancy wherein at least two data centers are, or minimum of two data centers are there.
Yes. Right. That's why AWS says that it's greater than 99%, less than 99.5%. That's why they quote their availability uptime numbers.
So we shouldn't mix the data center with availability zones, right? So it's separate.
Data centers with the availability. In a way, it's the same thing actually. At the end, what is that? One or a multiple data center at one single piece, distinct location. So it's not like very far from one another, right?
So it's like close to each other. So if some kind of disaster happens, maybe flood or something, then
It will
both will
impact
go down.
it will impact the full availability, right?
Okay. Okay, got it.
There should be clear distinction between a region and availability zone. Availability zone में no confusion. Availability zone is what it is. Region is just geography.
Okay.
Now, whatever question you get, actually, the Swapnil was asking, right? How I should deploy it in 2 or 3 or that sort of thing. So what they ask in scenario, I need this much amount of availability. I have these many availability zones. Now, how should I deploy my application? At what many instances I should deploy it? So, and with this combination, they will give you another scenario which it links to your load balancing or instance type and things like that. But this is the base, where your most of the scenario based question gets added into your architect exam. So that's why make sure that what is region, what is availability zone. Availability zone are nothing but a distinct location within that particular region which are separated from one another.
And I can also have my own choices. So for example, I can choose, um, so I can choose two different availability zones in two different regions for a same service.
Yes, but you will have to deploy or configure it in that.
I cannot transfer the data from one to another.
You can, there will be a cost associated.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's talk about very first service in AWS, which we are starting with is AC2. Let's take a short break of 10 minutes and come back. Will that work with everyone?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So let's it's 11:10. So let's come back in 15 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, 15
Pratik,
minutes, right?
Yes. Anyone had
Pratik, yes, I just it's an informal question. So actually, this is the demo link which has been provided from the Newskills to me to attend. Actually, I do not have my personal laptop. It's not working. So I'm just attending it from my office laptop, which has some kind of restrictions like my Gmail doesn't open and all. So just wanted to understand the Zoom and all is working fine for me. But apart from that, like when we will go for the hands-on, approximately what time will it take? Like how many, after how many weeks or I
we
just wanted
will
to know
we'll
because
take
in
it today itself, but it will be not too much.
okay, no, because I want to know whether some links will be opening or not. So then I can move forward with this course. Otherwise, I'll have to wait for my laptop to get fixed and then I can join.
We can try. So I haven't seen any issues. It will work. But if it is
Oh,
done, maybe your organization has a very
yeah, actually, I'm working in Honeywell. It has some restrictions and security issues.
Everything is linked to portal itself, so aws.amazon.com. If you create
Okay.
an account on that, it should be fine, and you can check, when it comes.
Okay, so in hands-on will be only on this AWS console only, right?
Right.
Anything we need to download as part of the software related things?
Just an RDP you will have to download, but it works on any laptop.
Okay, okay, fine.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Pratik.
See you in 10, 15 minutes. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first service that we are starting with is Amazon EC2. Hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, your screen is visible.
Yeah. So what is EC2 actually? In a very basic term, it's a virtual server that you will create in Amazon. Why ECC? It's because Amazon Elastic Cloud Computing.
Pratik, could you please be little loud?
Just check me the audio.
Or
Okay.
maybe your mic, yeah.
Yeah. Is it better now?
It's actually very low for me. I don't know for others, maybe.
Is it with everyone?
It's okay with me, Pradeep. I don't know about others.
Yeah, it's okay with me also.
Okay, maybe you have to check your laptop, or I'll try to be a little bit more louder. No worries.
Okay.
So talking about EC2, what is EC2? It's a virtual server in Amazon where you are creating a machines inside EC2. Now EC2 composed like everything, an aspect of machine creation. It's called an Elastic Compute Cloud. That's why EC2. Now, when we look at the servers, what we have inside a basic machine or a server, I like to compare it with basic machines or like laptop or desktop. So in our basic computer, we have operating system, CPU, hard drive, network card, firewall, and that. Similarly, all these things will be available in EC2. In EC2, the naming convention would be a little different. So when we say operating system with this Linux or Windows, here it will be replaced by AMI. AMI is nothing but Amazon Machine Image. So it can be Linux or a Windows. Depend on the configurations you want, you can choose an AMI for your EC2 instance. Now instance, EC2 instance, EC2 machine, EC2 server, everything like to one. Very common is instance. So you will maybe call it how many instance you have, how do you create an instance, how do you work on an instance. So this is nothing but your EC2 machine, you can specify. Second piece is processing power. Here, instance type is your processing power. Now, what is processing power here? It's usually CPU and RAM. This RAM also gets combined into this. The instance power mostly tell you about CPU plus RAM. Now, for what purpose you are creating the machine? How many users will be there? Is it in production machine or development machine, or a test machine? Depend on that, you will be selecting this configuration. Now, what comes under inside this, we'll talk about it. Then there is storage. What is the storage? How much amount of storage you need? What kind of drive you need? So basically, if you see in Amazon, it's called as EBS, which is Elastic Block Storage. Now, what is this? A block storage mechanism. We will see it in the storage. But types of drive would be SSD, HDD, and the magnetic. So there are three different types of drives there, which will come under this. IP address, every instance will have two particular IP for accessing. One would be public and one would be private. So there will be two IPs from an accessing point of view. Security group is nothing but a firewall, virtual firewall for that machine. So it will mostly tell you about the protocols, which you are using with your machine. So when I say protocol, it would be, if it is a Windows machine, you will use RDP. If it is a Linux machine, you will use SSH. If it is a web server, you will use HTTP. Like that, depend on for what purpose you are creating the machine, you will choose your security. Now, whenever you are creating the machine, you have to ask this question to yourself. What would be the operating system? For what purpose I am creating the machine? According to that, I will select all this other aspect of it. Instance type, processing power, storage, IP addresses, and the security groups. Now, what is advantages or what is this EC2 actually, when you start working on it? So if you see the different angles of it, it's an Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. It's a web service which will help us to provide secure, resizable compute capacity in the cloud. When I say secure, resizable, again, instance type EBF, you can have flexibility on it. Today I started with one CPU, tomorrow you might add another one, right? Today I started with 30 GB of storage, tomorrow you can add an additional 100. It's like that. Again, this simple interface will allow you to create a machine's instance the minimal fraction. You have a complete control over your environment, so it's up to you, what you have to select. Once you become a pro at it, it will hardly take 30 seconds for you to create a new server instance. Or initially also in your first time, you hardly take few minutes to create your virtual server in MS. What it will do, it will reduce the time. It will have more flexibility. You can scale up, scale down. When I say scale up, scale down, it's based on your instance type. Because the instance type you are using, if you are facing any performance issues, you can improve upon on that. It will also change the economics of compute by allowing you to pay only for the capacity that you are actually using. If I go back, now what AMI I am using, is this free or paid? What instance type I am using, how much EBS I am using. According to that, I'll have to pay to AWS. Whether it's developer, support, or infra guy, for everyone it's very easy. It's not like that only this person should create or that person should create the machine. If you're clear about the requirements, it will become very easy for you to create the machines.
Prateek, Swapnil, this side. Can you quickly revisit a previous slide from EC2 instance?
This one,
So AMIS is the operating
A-
system. So what is the full form of AMIS?
Amazon machine image.
Machine image. Okay.
Instance type is processing power, which is a combination of your CPU and RAM. How many CPUs you have and how much RAM you want to use.
Got it. Got it. And then EBS is local storage. So how what is the difference? Because I see EBS is a different service that we have to offer with EC2, or it is included in it.
So whenever there is an EC2, there will be EBS comes along with it. It will be
Okay.
working as a hard drive for that particular instance, you can say. It is just
Okay.
that there are different types of it. So you might be aware of, solid state drive, hard disk drive, and the magnetic drive. Depend on your use case, you will use any of those three. Whether it's a root or whether it's an additional drive, depend on that, you will select.
Right. And then RAM, is there security for like security? Then we'll be using some services for that then,
So
if I want
this
to
is the
start.
flow
Okay.
actually. This is the
Okay.
flow. So when I say EC2, these all
Things
comes
will
by
come.
default, and you
Okay.
have to configure them according to your requirement.
Okay.
So actually, when you say the instance creation process, it's a 7 step process. In the first step, you select AMI. In the second step, you create instance type. Then you select your storage. Then you select your security groups. Then you select your key pairs. Then you kind of create the machine. You add a tags to it. So it's a flow. All in that flow, these are the basic things which will come.
Got it.
How do you
And we'll
create?
be learning how to select then as per the use case, how to do it.
Yes, we will talk about it. It's coming.
Okay.
So talking about benefits of it, again, it's an elastic web scale computing. It's completely controllable, flexible cloud hosting because of the options we get. First three are straightforward. Last one is important, integrated. Amazon EC2, it's integrated almost everywhere in AWS. So whether from servers, I want to work at the storage, I want to work with database, I want to work with networking, it's become easy, when you know EC2 and it's already integrated with other aspect of AWS. So it will provide us a complete solution, storage, servers, database, networking. So it's connected everywhere. So it's integrated, amongst other services in AWS also. So it becomes easy, when you're trying to connect it. Now, talking about again more benefits because a multi-region, multiple availability zone, and all those things. So within each region, AWS says that it has a 99.95% of availability for each region. You can say, each region, not an availability. So you should put your machine at least in a 2 availability zone. How do you add into availability zone? How do you work upon it? That's yet to come. We'll talk about it. Security, it's an highest priority, but still there are multiple levels where you have to put your security in. So this server machine will be added into the network, right? In that network, what is security? Which type of security group you are using? What kind of encryption, if you want, you can use on the storage piece of it. What kind of key pairs you are using? So who has access to this machine? Everywhere, you have to keep security as an highest priority, and all those options are available in it. It's just that you
I
have
think
to keep in mind. Yeah.
you said that, or at least it's written that Amazon EC2 service level agreement commitments 99.9% availability for each region, right?
Right.
So even if I'm configuring it to availability zones, still I will have the same issue, or the SLA will not go higher. It would be 99.95, right?
Yes, but chances will get reduced because if you see, multiple availability zones are there, and it's very rare, and it haven't happened in the history also. Like everything is down to one.
Okay.
So, like I was telling, there are different locations, and if I place at every location, I have a replica of it. It is all synced. It's almost impossible that everything goes down at once until unless we do not do something wrong. From an infra side of point of view, it's very like negligible. You can say, everything goes down at once until unless something good happens. And I haven't seen it in the past. I have seen the history. They were all specific to availability zones, and that too for a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Now, security is one. Second is inexpensive because you pay only for the times you are running the machine. Second piece, your cost comes along with what type of AMI, what type of instance time, what type of storage you need. It will be a mix of everything. It's up to us also, and it in another way, it's up to like for how much amount of time period we are utilizing. So there are different ways of cost, but again, because of Amazon and the machines and the variety we have, we will get the machine at a very low cost. Now, if I talk about options in the costing, so this particular piece, costing piece, is a little bit elaborated here. There are different options, when you are working on EC2 from a costing point of view. Right now, you might have an account, or you might create it. You will have to create that account on aws.amazon.com. When you create the account, you get a 12-month of free trial. In that 12-month of free trial, you get few services at free of cost. So in EC2, you get a one instance free, which is on the hourly basis. 750 hours every month you get on that particular instance. I'll talk about it when we see the example of it. But that what you are getting, that 750 hours will come under on-demand instance. So what is this on-demand instance? In this, you pay by fixed rate of hour or a second, which will round it off to minute for that instance that you are launching. So if you have a requirement where you want to pay hourly, I'll go with the on-demand. Right now, in practice, in assignment, you can only play around with on-demand instance because that's what we get in free. Second comes the reserved instance. This is like purchasing in advance a little bit, and I'm saying then I'll be using this machine for a year. So rather than paying it by hour, I say that I'll use this machine from 1 to 3 years. Now you tell me what will I get. So basically, rather than going daily into the locals or metros and buying ticket, what I do, I take a pass. Cost efficient also and time efficient also. Same thing happens over here. If I take a reserved instance and calculate the cost of it on the hourly basis, which is 24 into 7 into 365, reserved instance cost will be little less as compared to on-demand instance, because you are buying it, not buying actually, but you are saying that I'll be using long. That's what your reserved instance. So if you are an enterprise and things like that, most of the time your instance will be a reserved instance. That's what it is. Then third comes spot instance, which is bidding of your unused instances. So sometimes it happens that I have taken an instance as a reserved instance, but I'm not able to utilize it. What I'll do, I'll repost it and somebody else can use it. So when somebody else uses it, he will pay for it. So what happens in spot instance? People bid for the resources. Whoever is bidding higher will get that resource, where you can put your instance and use it mostly for non-production related things. So there is a guideline which says that spot instances are not used for production or direct impact on the business. They should be always used for some testing or an R&D stuff only. Because what happens is someone bids higher than you, your resources can be removed and they can go to someone else. So there's a little of you can say this aspect of changing resources, underlying resources with few minutes. You do get a notification there, but still there is a chances of losing your instance. So you should not have any direct impact to the business.
So how is this bid on unused instances happen? So give some example here, please.
I have taken a reserved instance for 3 years. Assume that.
Okay.
I'm not using it. It's pending at my place. I say I won't be using it for maybe another month.
Okay.
So I add it into the spot and I give it to someone else. He will use it on my behalf and he'll pay me. It's like that. So you can generate a little bit of money on that particular thing.
But the
Now,
cost would be higher or it would be lower?
As compared to on demand, it will be lower.
Okay.
And other aspect is, let's say, I have a resource where you are also bidding, and let's say Swapnil also bidding, and someone else is also bidding. Right? Whoever is bidding higher, my resources will go to that particular guy. Then you have started utilizing it. Suppose you are bidding higher, you started utilizing it. Now there is someone else who is bidding again higher than you, and there are no additional resources available. In that case, your resources can be released and given to someone else. In that case, you won't get charged because other person is ready to pay higher. It will come from there. So if there are no resources available and there is this tit for tat kind of situation and everyone is paying higher, in that case, you can lose your data, you can lose your configuration. That's why it is said that it should not be used for production or a direct correlation with business kind of thing. It will be always used for R&D and testing sort of.
So you don't have any rights as a reserved owner of this instance.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. And that's why the cost also comes later. And you have a flexibility of checking the cost, at what costing I'm getting, who is providing it at the lesser cost, what are options I have available, things like that.
Okay.
Whether in on demand, it's straightforward. This many hours, this is the instance, this is the cost. The last one is dedicated host. So what happens here? See, when you are requesting for resources in the AWS and it goes behind, there are again multiple people at the same machine on that same host. So here in dedicated host, you are paying for that physical host, which is dedicated to running your instance. So this is more of, I say that I'm using that machine from the scratch, and you can bring your VMs or licenses to add on the top of it. So you will pay for the physical host that is fully dedicated to running your instance. You can bring your pre-socket, pre-core VM softwares and license to reduce the cost. This is usually used in your this banking sort of stuff, where you say I don't want to share anything with anyone, right? It should be dedicated to me. So in that case, you use dedicated host. Costing point of view, this will be more higher, as compared to all the type of instances. So question point of view, you'll get a business case or scenario in exam, and they'll ask you what type of instance option you will use. If it is a short term, you go with the on demand. If it is a long term, you go with the reserved. testing, R&D, non-prod, you go with the spot. Anything which is related to security and which asks for a higher security, that goes with dedicated host. Getting it? And whatever you will be doing right now, it's all on demand. We won't be able to do it in resort or a spot or things like that, because we don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just trying to.
Yeah, I made my account 1 year before 1 year. So is it apply me cost for if I trying on the my account or not?
Yes, there will be cost, but if there are resources only. If there are no resources, it's sitting ideal, there will not be any cost.
No, for training purpose, I am asking for just whatever we are trying in training. So it will not cost to me.
If it is more than 1 year, it will cost you, but we can keep in mind that, whenever we create, we can release the resources intentionally. So it will not be more than, let's say, 40, 50, I guess.
Okay, 40, 50
rupees.
Okay.
And again, condition apply. If we don't release the resources and if it's not running for a day or two, suddenly it will get up to 1,000 or something. So we can keep a track on it.
Okay, please suggest me for that.
Yep, sure. Whenever we create a resources, we'll release it.
Okay, thank you.
And in terms of the difference between the reserve instance and dedicated, so I understand that with the physical host, so this means I will have a full physical machine for myself.
Yes, I'm talking about underlying hardware. When I say physical host, no.
Yeah.
So that underlying hardware is will be only given to you. Whether on the reserved instance, what will happen? You, me, and other person which we are using, these machines could be lying on one hardware, via virtualization way.
Okay, but then if I think about Amazon as a company, they would not have small machines for sure to be available for dedicated hosts. I think if someone is really going for dedicated hosts, then in this case maybe like big machines of 500 or 1,000 or yeah.
Right. There are predefined configuration only that will be available. You don't have much of a customization there.
Okay, understood.
The main purpose of dedicated host is if you want to take, maybe someone say I need a plain vanilla machine, right? Plain vanilla hardware. In that case, you go with the dedicated hardware, dedicated host. Then second would be when you want to take your own licenses. You don't want to go with the bundle which is getting from Amazon. In that case, you will use dedicated. Other than that, I haven't seen much of the use cases.
Okay.
Hello, Pratik. Swapna, they said for Spot, you said it will be used for research purposes. Can you just again explain that? Because rest all I got, but this how, because we have to bid and all, and there will be a different thing we have to do in this. So can you just?
Got it. I would say non-production. So whichever things are related to non-production, that can be taken by Spot instance, because if your resources get released, you get 2 minutes of notification, 2 or 5. I'm not sure, last time it was 2. So you get like few minutes to release your resources, and if you don't release, they will automatically get it. So if it is production, you have a business impact over there. That's why it is recommended you should not use Spot instance with the production.
Okay, got it.
Now, if we go back, this was related to the EC2 option. Now, the one big thing we want to talk about is this instance type. Now, which type of instance, where should we use it? For that, there is a full list of instance types. You don't have to like by heart this, because this will be available on the console, but you should at least know the major categories of it, because let's say I'm creating an instance for XYZ purpose. I should know, what type of family or instance I should use, when I'm creating machine for this particular time. So what is actually instance type? There are different families they have given, and there are different use cases for those families. So I'm talking about your free tier account. So in free tier account, you get this T2 family. In T2 family, there are micro, small, large, these sort of variations. So you get only T2 micro as in one instance to work with. Now, what is this used for T2 family? This is used for lowest cost, general purpose, and the use cases web servers and small deals. Now, someone wants to put a data warehouse or let's say a gaming machine, right? Will T2 help be able to help here? Because it's a general purpose and low cost. You can deploy, you can create, but towards end you will get a performance issue because this machine won't have that much of huge capacity so that it can work with any data warehouse or other backend, right? So it's good to go ahead with this particular combination. So D2 is used for dense storage, which is for data warehousing, Hadoop or file server. R4 is memory optimized. This is used for memory intensive applications or DBs. M4 is used for again application server. C is used for compute optimized, so which will be CPU intensive application. G is more used for graphics, which is for video streaming, video encoding. I type of instances are used for high speed storage, which is where you need high IOPS, specifically databases, NoSQLs and other stuff. F is used for again field programmable algorithm. So you can keep this in mind. Again, no one will ask you the direct type of instance, but there might be a question based on the family. What type of family I should use for which type of specialty? Just to keep this in mind, what you have to do, you have to keep like this first word in mind. D for density, R for RAM, N for main choice. So you just keep this in mind after my gift pick so you can correlate. Again, there are again subtypes in it. So D2 may you will have D2 micro, D2 large, D2 small, and what variation it will have? It will have CPU and RAM variation, right? Nothing else. And this will all be visible onto your screen, when we are creating them. But we should know because we'll have to suggest also at some point in time, if we are doing this instance for this business, then we should use this type of instance type, depend on the use cases. Okay, now we will move to assignment. So there are a few more topics in EC2 we need to cover, but we'll take them later. Now let's see what we have to do. Let's assume that I have to create one EC2 instance for Windows operating system. So AMI would be Windows, instance type would be T2 micro, which will be very basic, freely available, which will have one CPU, 1 GB RAM. EBS, I'll use, we can't use HDD for the root drives. I'll use maybe magnetic drive, which will let lower cost, or SSD of 30 GB size. So that tells me the story. My root drive, my C drive would be of 30 GB size. IP address, we will put this into the default network. So one we will get automatically from that internal network of where we are deploying this machine, and the other one will come outside. This is Windows machine, so I'll add RDP, remote desktop protocol, so that I can access this Windows server. So these are the combinations that we will be selecting. Now, if anyone has a Readily account and want to share the screen, can go ahead. We can start with the assignment. Now, at a time, only one person would be able to share the screen, or at least two. I can see two screens at once. Other people will have to follow, what that person is doing. So if you guys have an account on aws.amazon.com and anyone would want to volunteer, go ahead and share yours. So who wants to go first? And most of the time, I won't be doing the assignment. I'll be asking you guys to share and do the assignments, because if I do, my speed is a little bit faster. And it's a human tendency, whenever we see it looks like very easy, but when we try to replicate, it becomes a little difficult. So I would prefer that you guys come forward and share your screen. And again, these might be like very new things for you guys. You don't do it regularly, but for a revision perspective and getting in hands-on on it, it's better that we should do at least few assignments. So we can switch in between like individual, sometimes someone shares, sometimes someone shares the screen like that. And if something comes where there is a cost involved, then I will share my screen and I can do this. I see there is sharing screen.
Yeah. I'm sharing my screen now, so I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so the fact is I'm on this console home,
Click
and
on services in the left.
yep, I go on services.
Type EC2 on this top bar.
Okay,
EC2.
EC2.
Virtual servers in the cloud. Click on EC2. Okay, which region is this? Can you click on the drop down?
It's Stockholm showing us.
Okay. Just for an sanity purpose, sometime what happens, we create one service in one region, another service in another region. So sometimes it becomes little difficult to track. And if we don't release the services in the backend, it will keep on running. Assume that you created one machine right now and you don't remove it. It will, and tomorrow you come to the training, so it's almost 24 hours. It was running behind the scene. It's like that. So
Okay.
make sure that every time you log in, we kind of fix the region, and in that region only we work. Let's
So I
select.
can try with Mumbai.
Let's select Ohio. I'll tell you the region later. Let's select Ohio.
US East Ohio.
Right.
Okay.
So now everyone can try the same. Whenever we are doing the assignment, we'll do it in this particular. Select it. It will load. Change.
Yep.
Okay. Now this is your dashboard. You don't have any machine runnings right now, so that's why the numbers are 0. Security group is 1 because in every region there is AWS default network available. I'll talk about network piece later. So right now we are talking about compute. So let's focus on compute itself. Left hand side you see instances.
Yes.
Click on instances.
The first one, right?
Yeah. Right. So this is where it will show you, how many instances you have. Right now we don't have any instance. So we click on launch instance anywhere, or either orange button or middle of the screen. It's the same.
Okay.
What is?
Then it's asking for name.
Yeah. So this is nothing but a tag. If you are creating the machine, what is the name you want to display for that machine? So what we decided, I want to do it as a Windows server. Okay. So you can add Windows also. So test training Windows server.
Right.
Yeah. Scroll down.
Why is it showing Linux?
We will change. By default, it takes anything. We will change it. Scroll down. Scroll
to
the left. Right. Scroll down again.
Okay, so here we have Linux, right?
We want to work with Windows. Select Windows.
Okay, then scroll down.
So, yeah, that's a drop down where you will see all the options of Windows. We had selected one which was free tier eligible, which is server 2022 base. So there are 2019, 16, whichever you want to go. We will go with 2022 only.
Oh, how does it matter which server base to select?
Depends on your requirement, right? For what purpose you are creating, what operating system you want. So right now, through Amazon Machine Image, I am taking this Windows Server 2022 base. This is an operating system.
Okay.
If you scroll down to the bottom, that same particular piece, you will see multiple options. See, if
SQL Server.
Enterprise Standard, Web.
Okay, Visual Studio.
Depend on our use case. So we don't have such use case in mind for now, so it's fine. Go with it.
Okay.
Click on it. Scroll down.
Then it says
instance type. So by
one
default,
vCPU.
yeah, by default it has taken that T2 micro. So the name of instance type is T2 micro. Click on that compare instance type. So here you will see the complete list. This is the only option which comes under free tier. When did you create this account?
Yesterday.
Previously there was a notation which says T2 micro free tier eligible. Now that went away. I'm not sure, they must have done something change in the UI. But this is the only option it's available at free. Now if you see T2 nano, T2 micro, small, medium, what is changing? CPU and memory in GIP.
Yeah.
So that's what changing behind the scene, you can say. Scroll down.
Okay, so CPUs and network performance up to 5. Okay.
So the ones which are grayed out
Hmm.
are not compatible with that particular AMI which you selected. So
Okay,
that-
so more of the operating system that I selected, correct?
yes, right. With that operating system, what configurations of CPU and RAM can be added? So that's all list. When you scroll down, it will change the numbers. Nothing else.
And this network performance, so it's a speed of how the network would be accessible.
Yes.
Okay.
You can scroll to a little bit left if there is. Scroll down. This scroll bar should adjust to the left or right, so there'll be a few more options towards right.
Yeah.
I guess that's network only, right?
Yeah.
Scroll
That's
down.
it. This is
Okay.
the last.
Okay. Select instance type. That orange button in the bottom.
Okay, so I have selected T2 micro.
There are multiple pages. So like we have seen, D, G, different type of instance. All those will be there. On the top, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 till 12. So you will see all those different types.
But what are the charges? Where I can see the charges for these ones?
Not directly here. There's a different calculator for it. So I'll tell you what I can tell you now. It's a different website actually, different application. You go and do the calculation there.
Okay.
For
So
now,
I
let's
go with the
T2
T2
micro.
micro.
Yeah, it's free. Select.
Yeah.
See, here it is mentioned. It's free trial.
Then
Okay.
keep here login.
Now, what is key pair? Key pair is a secure way to kind of get into your machines. So
Okay.
this is the way from where you will generate your password for your machines, you can say, or an authentication will happen to your machine. So we will create a new key pair. Click on create new key pair. Give a name. You can give your name. That's fine. So let's say if you don't want to change, you can use the same key pair with as many as machines you want until unless this doesn't get corrupted.
And I have to use SSH or putty.
We'd go with .pem only for now because we don't have a putty and we are not working on the Linux machine. So that's why I'll go with .pem.
Okay.
If you are working with WinSAP or putty or things like that, then in that case we use .ppk. So
something got downloaded.
yes, this is the key pair which will be used when you will log in into this test machine.
Okay.
So
And it will automatically be generated, or I have to manually figure it out?
you'll have to just browse and select, and then the password will generate using this particular file. You'll have to
So it's in my
download folder. It will be there. Yeah.
Okay.
.pem file, right? That's the one it is.
So it's a text file or some kind of different file?
You can open it in text. It has a key actually inside.
Okay.
You can try opening. It will have a long key available.
Okay.
This piece, I'll not talk about it now. Let's skip it for the time. Scroll down. Security group. It is taking RDP 000 anywhere. That means that you can connect to this machine from anywhere. Just that you should have that key pair and password kind of thing. Scroll down. Network, I don't want to confuse you guys now. That's why I'm not talking about it, but we will go it in detail. This is storage. So what type of storage it is? Now it is using this SSD storage. Again, free tier eligibility for this is 30 GB, which is EBS SSD. So this would be your key drive of that. If you say, I want to add additional, I want to increase, you can do that. So like 30, from 30, I can say 50 also can be done. But right now we don't need it. So let it be 30 by default.
Okay. And then advanced details.
Click on it. This is
Request.
also, I'll talk about it later. So right now, just focus on creating the machine first. We'll go in bits and pieces. Click on launch instance.
Okay.
So what we did actually, we started with tag. Second was AMI. Third was instance type, key pair, security group. and launch. Click on that instance ID I061CA.
This one.
Yeah, every instance gets created with this sort of alphanumeric ID. That's your instance ID. Click on it. It says pending. It will come into the running space. You click on that ID again. I06.
Here, right?
Yeah. So see, test training Windows Server. That was an tag we had given. So it's available with ID.
Yeah.
Public
So this is the
IP.
public IP. So if I want to access it through this IP, I can access it, right?
Right, because right now you're sitting at your home and
Yeah.
this is Amazon machine running in Amazon network. So that's why the public IP is important. We are an outsider for that machine right now. If you are already a part of Amazon network, you will use that private IP, which is 172.31.074. That means if you have any other machines which are in the same network and you want to jump from one machine to another machine, in that case, you use a private IP. But we don't have any prior machines, we don't have any prior connections. So the only way to get into it would be public IP.
So if, for example, another colleague of me in this training opens up or creates a server, then I can access his server using the internal IP.
No, your
No?
network and his network is different. Amazon network, to be specific.
Okay.
In a
So
way,
it's only limited to Amazon network in this case.
yes, right. In a way, it's not possible. I am sitting in my organization, you sitting in your organization, we directly access each other's machine, right? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it require the VPN of Amazon to connect?
No. If you're working on a public IP, there is no VPN required.
No, for private IP.
Yes. If you want to directly connect on the private IP, you would require a VPN connection. Let's say Zeri right now has a VPN connection set up from his laptop home to Amazon network. In that case, he would be able to access the private IP. But
Yes.
we don't.
No, it's not required yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if for example, like I am creating this, then how the two machines will interact? These two machines will never interact in that case. For example, if someone else creates a server or two machines.
So when you say someone else, like outside your account or within your account?
Outside my account. So if I create it within my account, then I can use access using the private IP, correct?
Right, right. Because they are part of the same network. If someone else want to access, you will have to provide him IP address, RDP, key pair, the way you will log in into this now.
Okay.
Let's try to connect. The other details are same, IP and instance type and what network it is using, what was the launch time, what's the AMI and stuff like that. Scroll to the top now.
Okay.
Click on connect. There are different ways to connect. We will use RDP client. So session manager is a different way where you configure the machines and stuff like that. I'll use this RDP client. Scroll down. Download remote desktop file. If you don't download, you can use your local RDP also. In that local RDP, we need addresses. This will automatically come with address.
Okay.
Can
so
open.
I got it.
Open. I guess connect. Click on connect.
Now it's asking for the credentials. So I need to use the key pass.
You go back to the previous screen.
This one?
Yes, click on it. Click on get password.
Okay, upload private key file. That's what it's asking for.
Browse. Scroll down, decrypt.
This is the password, big one.
Copy this and use this password into, yeah. Yes.
Yes.
You are into that machine now. So see, this is the first time it took time. Otherwise, hardly to have 30 seconds to 60 seconds. It's a task to create the machine. And this is as good as any server, Windows server. It is just that it is hosted in Amazon. And this machine comes with only one CPU and 1 GB RAM. So you might face a little bit of performance issue, loading issue, because very minimalistic.
It's building up.
And whenever you open machine for the first time, it takes a little bit of time because it does the backend configuration.
Why is it showing at 6:42 in this clock?
What's your region?
I'm in Europe region, but
No. Machine region. So machine
Ohio.
Ohio.
So it's 6:42 in Ohio? I don't think so.
No, it's like around 2 p.m. I guess there.
Yeah. So I would go, no, I don't want anyone to access this machine, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
That's the UTC time. That's why it is showing 6:42.
Okay. So I got this machine.
Okay, now let's verify once. Let's go to C drive, my PC, this PC.
This PC. This
See,
is opening my desktop, right? Or this is
local disk C drive. Size was 30 GB. What we set up there is.
Yeah, 16 GB is already used.
So because of a Windows, it will almost use 15, 16 GB. And you can't take it less than 30 if you are working on Windows. It will throw you an error. We didn't try it, but I'm telling you, if you go with the Linux, you can use 8, and from there you can start like 8, 10, 12, whatever you want to.
Okay.
Now, let's think about a use case. We're going a little bit reverse. I created the machine because I wanted to show you, how do you create a server in it. Now, let's say I want to host a web server on this. Website on this. For that, we will make a configuration. So you will have to make few services available, and this has nothing to do with Amazon now. This is same everywhere. Wherever they will see the Windows server, same operations will be performed, whether it's Azure, AWS, any cloud service provider, or on-premises also. So you go to Server Manager, services, search me, type Server Manager. Open it.
So it's 2022 version of this Windows, right? Which is not Windows 11, suppose.
Servers are different versions.
Okay.
Close.
Try Windows Admin Center and Azure Arc today.
This is just a pop-up. You can say close it. Don't show.
Okay, configure this local server.
So when you are opening it for the first time, Server Manager, it takes time to load. On the top, you can see that loading horizontal bar. So it's keep on loading. Once it is loaded, I'll add few services. So for that, you have to click on Add Roles and Features. Second option there, 1, 2, 3, 4. Add Roles and Features. You click Next.
Okay.
Next.
Role-based feature.
Right. We want to make it as a web server, and I'll have to select those specific roles which are related to web server. In Windows, there's a web server IIS as a service. So click on Next. And here, scroll down. You see third from the bottom, web server IIS. Right. Select that. Add features. Next. 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 Next.
HTTP.
Next,
Okay.
yeah. Install. So once this gets installed, that means that this particular server can be used as a web server. Now, how you would check that this is web server or not?
Accessible from web, right?
Yes. So what
using HTTP.
So let's go back to Amazon console.
It's installing, so I should.
You can minimize this. Fine. Minimize this RDP, minimize this.
Okay.
Minimize this RDP also.
Yep.
Okay, now go back to machine.
Where? Services? EC2.
Install.
Okay, this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now copy that public IP address. Put it into the browser. Just open a new browser. Add it.
So HTTPS.
Just enter. Now go back to the RDP. Check the installation is done or not.
Installation successful.
Okay. Now minimize and
Close.
go back to your browser window, Google Chrome.
Cannot be reached.
Give it a shot. Why it's not reachable?
Why it's not reachable? Maybe I've not allowed access through this server.
I will share my screen. Give me a second.
Have you enabled port?
Exactly. That's what the answer is. So let's go back to Amazon console. We haven't enabled HTTP port, right?
Yep, we didn't, because in the initial stages we just
We just did RDP. That's why we are able
RDP.
to log in. Let's go
Yeah.
back to your Amazon console.
Instance details here. Okay.
Yeah. So scroll down. Security. So you see details, networking, and security.
Yeah.
Here, click on that security group, which is Launch Wizard 1. Scroll down, I'll tell you.
RDP. Okay. Here.
Edit
I need to
inbound rules. Click on Edit Inbound Rules.
edit inbound rules. Okay. I can add one more, right?
Yes, that's what we will do.
Okay. HTTPS. Port
We'll add
TCP.
00. Not HTTPS because we are not using certificate. We'll do HTTP only.
Okay. And then IP 00.
00 because it should be accessible from anywhere.
So add rule. Done.
Okay. Yeah. So now go back to that. Yeah, refresh.
I have put HTTPS. Yep.
Now you added in this copy, paste this IP address into the chat. Anywhere in the world should be able to see this page now because it's open to all. It's installed. It's working also. So like if anyone wants to kind of click and see, you can check it from your mobile laptop. You should be able to see this page. Now let's go back to that RDP.
Yeah.
Go to C drive again. Okay. So whenever we did this installation, there was one folder which got added. It's called as initpub. Second folder, initpub.
Yeah.
Open.
Logs.
Yeah. Open root. www root. Open that image. PNG. Image. Second one.
Okay. It's taking some time and blurring my.
Something that happens because it's on the remote and machine is also very small.
Not the
this.
HTML file.
No, not this. Maybe it's open, I guess, in the paint. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So
I see it.
why I wanted to open it? Let's make few changes to this and see if this gets replicated runtime or you add any text or any. You can add that visual also. That's fine. Save. Just save it and go back to the Chrome window. This will be instantaneously reflecting that RD. Refresh.
Yep.
So it's up. This is easy, like how how you want to create the machine, for what purpose you want to use. We just use it as a web server, as a sample website. Now another way is like how do I change? How do I work on the machine? So it's the by default IIS, so it will have all those IIS things for you to work upon, which are coming with. Now let's see. Let's say if you don't want to use this machine, right, for maybe an hour or so. Okay. Let's go back to Amazon console.
I should stop share. Oh no, sorry. Close this window.
No, let it be there. Let's go to
Okay.
EC2.
Yep.
Not this one, the Amazon console where we configured EC2.
Okay. This it's here.
This one. Click on instances. Okay. Now there will be few multiple things with EC2 now. That's what we will see. So we have seen the public IP of machine and private IP of the machine. Now what I am saying that I don't want to use this machine. What can I do with that? And how these machines will be used? So in that case, there are different ways to work on the machine. So let's say select that machine. Click on instance state. On the top, instance state. So you see connect, instance state, action, launch instance on the top.
Yeah.
So there are multiple states with an instance. So if you don't want to use it for temporarily, you stop the machine. If you don't want to use that machine like from now, and there is no utilization of it, then in that case you terminate that instance. If you want to reboot, you normally reboot it. So assume that you don't want to use it now. So once you terminate, you won't be able to use that machine ever again. It will be removed from the scratch.
Okay.
If you stop the machine, that machine will be there, configurations will be there. It is just that it will not be in the running. Okay. So for now, first we'll go with the terminate. Then I'll tell you about the stop. Maybe you just terminate. So whatever you have created this machine, everything will go. You go back to RDP, it won't show anything to you. It will say let's shut down the RDP.
The computer is shutting down.
Because it is getting removed now. Okay. Now if you go back to that IP address, it will also not show you anything. You refresh that page.
No, nothing is happening. It's just
because that machine is dead now. Now, once you terminated the machine, you won't be able to rework it. It is gone. It's as good as deleting the machine.
Okay. And I still see the instances here. So should I refresh it?
It will be there, till the time you are logged in. Once you kind of go out and come like after like 10-15 minutes, it will go away. But still, in this current login, it will show it as a terminate here in the screen. If
I
you
see
want to,
terminated.
once you like relog in, then it will be gone away. But till the time the session is on, you are working on it, it will be shown as in terminated. But you won't have any IP or stuff like that associated.
Okay.
refresh it. It should be on.
Should I refresh it?
Yes, refresh. No public IP, no private IP, nothing. Instance status terminated.
Yep.
Now let's take in one more example. What we did right now, we will do it again with, this time would be with the Linux. So let's create an instance now.
Maybe someone else can try now. I
Yeah,
can also
okay.
follow.
Sure. If anyone else wants.
Is the terminated instance will be reconfigured?
No, it can't be. It's like removed from the scratch. You won't be able to work on it again. Now,
Okay.
next time we do, I'll show you the stop instance cascade. And now we will work on the Linux machine. We'll take the same assignment. I will make it as an web server and we'll see how does it.
Maybe someone new.
I think I believe I am sharing this. Is it
Yeah,
yes,
I can.
Yeah, no? Okay. So,
Okay, now let's go to Ohio.
Why Ohio?
See, there is an okay, this will come in the next slide, but still, there is a geographic specific cost variation in EC2 or in an infrastructure specifically. So let's say I have a data center in India and I have a data center in US. Okay, so a real estate cost in India, real estate cost in US, government taxes in India, in US, support services cost in US and India will vary. So it's not like that if I'm getting charged $1 in US, it will be same throughout the globe. The cost varies a little bit. I have find out North Virginia and Ohio compared to all other regions have like slightly lower cost. But that doesn't mean that every business should go to North Virginia or Ohio, because you will get a latency issue because it's very far from them. We are just doing the practice, and let's say by mistake if we get something as in bill, it should come lower. That's why I prefer North Virginia or Ohio. Getting it?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, now click on instances. Click on launch instance. Give a name. Let's say Linux instance. Okay, if you want, you can add an additional tags also. Let's say operating system, project name, client name, and all those. If you want, you can add them, but we will work with the one single tag. You can try, click add. That will be there. Name would be there. If you mess with that, then that name will not come up, which was showing on Jerry's screen. So this will be name. You click on add tag. You can say project name or maybe operating system. So key mein aayega operating system, let's say OS, yeah, and value.
OS, this is like I can choose it on my.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can add Linux. Likewise, you can create 10, 20 tags if you need.
But this is just tag. This has nothing to do with the real machine.
Right. This will help you when you have
multiple instance names,
20, 50 instances, and you want to track the storage of that machine or an IP of that machine, or even cost of that machine. In that case, this helps. Okay. Let's scroll down. Okay. Now click on browse more AM. So I'll tell you the things which we haven't discussed in the previous phase. There are multiple ways to get your AMI. One is quick start AMI. Now you can see on the top, quick start, my AMI, marketplace, community. So quick start are given by Amazon, like ready to plug and play. And you can filter it out, Linux, Windows, architecture, 32, 64, whatnot you want. My AMIs are custom versions of your AMIs that you save. We haven't created any AMI yet, but I'll create in this next assignment. So you click on my AMI now, you will see 0 there. Okay. Next is AWS Marketplace AMI. Now let's say you want some customized AMI, which should be coming from some of the service providers. Let's say I'm working on SAP HANA. And I need Linux server. I need SAP HANA on the top of it. So I'll search that particular AMI of SAP. It is available here. I'm just taking an example. You can go with Red Hat, Oracle, Microsoft, big data, Hadoop, whatnot. You just search out it here, find out which AMI you want, and then you select it. So it will have that particular software and configuration within that particular AMI, but it will be chargeable. Most of the time you will see there will be a cost associated with it. These are coming from all trusted third parties providers. So there is a different process, that goes, this AMI goes through. So they are all verified and validated AMIs, which comes into the market. The last option is community AMI. So same marketplace and community are same. There is only one difference. In community, anyone can put the AMI. In marketplace, it comes via a trusted third party source. So from a support point of view, it will become easy to figure out the support for AWS Marketplace AMI compared to the community AMI. That's the only difference. Now we will again switch back to quick start one. Scroll down. What we need is in like 1, 2, 3 only. Your top may you will see Linux AMI. Yeah, Amazon Linux.
64, no?
Chilling.
Okay.
So this is free tier eligible Amazon Linux machine. Quick start AMI. Scroll down. Instance type would not change. It would be same. If you have created a key pair in the previous step, you can use the same. If you want,
No, I haven't.
You can create new also. So click on create new. Give a name. No space. Yes, it doesn't take space usually. Scroll down. Create.
What if someone has access to this key pair? They can also access it, right?
It gets downloaded in your local machine, right?
But you have to decrypt it, right? And then you have to generate the password with that.
Pairing it would.
So say I decrypt. I take a snapshot of Sushma's machine, and then I try to access it. It would be accessible. I will not do it, but I'm just asking.
Right. So that's why what people do actually, when you first log in, you change your password. You go to the control panel, change your password, create different user, same as what we do with any Windows or Linux server.
Okay.
Is the same key will be used for the next instance also?
Yes, you can use that, right? You can use the same key pair for as many systems you want.
Okay.
So someone is taking your snapshot, Sushma.
No.
There's nothing confidential in that. That's fine.
So this will be .pem, right? Not
yeah. Scroll down. Network will go with default.
I had a question, like why we are selecting .pem only. Other option, what is the difference?
So it's .ppk, right? So when you're working with Linux servers, usually we try to connect it via PuTTY or WinSAP. In that case, if you have that setup, you can directly take the ppk file. If you don't have, then if you don't get a directly ppk, earlier it was not available. So what we used to do, download PEM, convert it to ppk, and then you use it with PuTTY. But right now we don't have a PuTTY or any additional tool to connect. We will directly use the console to connect. That's why I'm not going into that. Previously, this option was not available. There are only .pem files, so we used to convert them manually. Okay, can you check if you have that file in the download? I was seeing some errors, when you did that. Downloads. Oh, it's there. That's fine. Okay, go back to that screen. Okay. Assume that I want to make this as a web server, so I'll add HTTP here itself. So allow HTTP traffic from the internet. Scroll down. Scroll down. If you want, you can create a 10 instance of the same configuration. You just add a number, it will create those many instances. We don't want to. So click on launch.
I mean, today, if we create one instance, it's not chargeable, but if we create 10 instances, it would be chargeable, right?
You get 750 hours of T2 micro. Now, let's say if I am running 2 machines for a day, so it's 48 hours out of that 750. You can run as many as you want. It's just that I should not go beyond 750 in any month for first 12 months.
Okay.
More than that, then you get a cost.
Only in running state.
Yeah, only in running state. If the machine is in stop state, then you pay for the storage, not for the compute, because configurations will be there. Click on that instance ID I0973.
And once terminated, no charges.
Yeah, once terminated, no charges, nothing. It's deleted. Click on that instance ID I0. It's still it's running state now. Click on connect. We'll go with instance to instance connect. Scroll down. Click on connect.
This is by default.
Yes.
Right? Oh.
Yeah, by default.
But it can be changed as well, right? It's not something
No,
which is...
the default user for this Amazon Linux machines is always EC2. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and create multiple user inside that operating system and stuff like that. But default user, like we have administrator for Windows, no? So here it will be EC2 user.
Okay.
Okay, it says this 172.31.8217 is the private IP of that same machine. If you want, you can verify that. So go back to your previous screen and check what was the private IP of that machine. So whenever you log in, you always see this private IP.
This one, no?
Yeah, right. So now we will follow the same steps. I'll give you few commands of Linux in the chat. What you have to do, you just have to copy paste them. Again, these are Linux commands. Just a second, I will copy this. Okay, so I have pasted them. The first would be sudo su. So you'll log in as a root user, then you can perform those operations. So you can type sudo space su, or you can copy paste the first line from that chat. So now it has moved to EC2 user. Then we install this. So in Windows, we did that web server IS. Similarly, in Linux, I'll install HTTPD. This is same as your that web server Apache Tomcat thing, what we do. So yum-y install HTTPD. Then once this is done, I go to that directory, which is get added. I'll go to cd var www.html, that path, you just add that. Enter. CD.
Sushma, there should be space.
Space.
CD space, yeah.
Slash me come. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that's fine.
Now we'll go to that path. So we'll write that file. So any website has an index.html. So we'll write echo. And
Enter or
no, double quotes may you'll put a text which you want to display. Okay, and this has nothing to do with Amazon. No? This is just like not assignment we are doing to test our machines. We'll add the same path. HTML. Index.html.
And space.
You enter. Now you will start that service. Service
Okay.
HTTPD start.
So once she starts the service, we can access it using HTTP.
Yes, public IP 3.145.173.39. Copy paste this public IP into the browser. 3.145.173. That's private. Public IP of that machine. You'll see in
This
the
one, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Only that 3.145.173.
Acha, public. Okay, okay.
I can access it from myself as well.
So you will be able to see that welcome as a text.
Correct. I do see.
When you go back and change it, it will instantaneously change. You just have to write an echo command again, but you won't try that. That's fine. This is one way to create the machine. Now, the other way could be, let's say you say, I don't want to write these down steps manually. So what you're doing right now is going into the machine, logging in, and then writing out this commands, manually. You say that these commands, just an example we are taking, these commands which you are writing, sudo install echo service, this should happen automatically on the fly when my machine is getting created. Is there a possibility to do that? That is also doable. So what change will happen? Everything will get executed whatever you have written, but simultaneously with when your machine is getting ready. So advanced version of this assignment will create one more Linux machine, but that machine will have this particular command within installation itself, not after execution, not after machine creation.
Machine launches. Okay.
Go back to your Amazon console, EC2 console. On the top, that zoom thing comes, that's why it becomes difficult.
Yeah.
You can drag it to the bottom, or you can maybe change the size of your.
Wait, I'll just stop screen for a moment.
Yeah, that's also works. So stop share, reshare screen. Let's go back to Amazon console.
I'm sharing again.
So click on instances. Launch instance. Orange button in the.
Oh, sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, give a name. It's a Linux 2. Scroll down. Same AMI. Scroll down. You won't change anything. Scroll. T2 micro scroll. You can use the same key.
Same key. No?
Drop down, you'll have to select. Selected.
Okay. Just
scroll down. Scroll down.
to select any from here?
Yes, HTTP. Scroll down. Click on the advanced details here.
Advanced.
Scroll down. Scroll down. Come to the last. There will be a script user data option. Yeah, this one. This box here on the user data. Scroll up a little.
The one which. Okay.
Yeah, this one. User data option. So here we will add those commands. I have added the script into the chat. You just copy paste it here.
Okay. This one, right?
Yeah, hash bin bash. That one. So what it does, while the machine is getting created, this thing will get added. So you don't have to log in now. It will automatically web server with this welcome 1 2 3 4 5 7 8. I intentionally added a different text so that we understand it. Scroll down, launch. So this is known as bash script. So click on instance ID. So once this come into the running state, you click on instance ID again. Mostly the screen doesn't refresh. That's why it shows. You copy this public IP and put it in the browser. 13584054, middle of the screen. Yeah. Open it in the browser. You will see that new web page coming up. Refresh. It could be machine is taking time to load. It's initializing. So see, what is the change, as compared to the previous assignment? We directly add it.
Directly.
You don't have to log in, keep your stuff like that. That doesn't come in it. Okay.
This is for a Linux machine. And what about for Windows? If we create an instance for a Windows machine, is there any script for that also?
That also script is there, but those are this PowerShell command. I'm not very good at those, but yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Now we will test this piece. Sometimes it happens, this screen doesn't get refreshed very fast, so you have to full refresh this page, and then it comes up. And this status check takes a time. Your instance is running. What it is doing right now is taking the machine is completely up.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically, whenever we have to check whether the instance is running or no, is it this state or this state that we need to verify?
Instance is running is instance state.
And status check is?
Status check is you remember, like whenever you're working on server, so you have multiple things like CPU, RAM.
Yes, yes, yeah.
All those things are working or not, he'll check in the back.
Okay. Machine is up and then all the other stuff is just getting. Okay.
Okay, now okay, we'll talk about the states again. So instance state. What we checked in the last one was related to only one, which is check.
What is alarm status?
Okay, you can create a monitoring alarm on the top of instances. So let's say if the utilization of this instance is not up to the mark, or this instance is running on high utilization, so you get a notification. If this instance gets removed, terminated, or the volume change happens, send me the notification. That will come under the monitoring system. We will see that.
And multiple alarms can be added, right?
Yes, multiple alarms, multiple instances, everything. We will see that in CloudWatch. CloudWatch is a monitoring system.
And this is an email notification that we will configure, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do the text also, but email is pretty common.
Yeah. Okay.
Now select that instance, Neo Test Linux 2. Okay. Now what we will do, we'll check with other states. So I want to stop this machine now. So click on instance state, stop. Now what will happen in stop? My configurations are there. My storage is there. It is just that machine state will change from running to stop. So click on stop. It's stopping. Now you go back to that IP, which was there, 13.5 something. Yeah. This page won't be available because the machine is turning off.
Okay.
This is equal to shutdown. When I shut down, I restart, my storage configurations are same. Right? So it's not working. Now let's go back to your Amazon console. Refresh.
Stopped.
Now click on in. Now let's take a note of it, everyone. What is the IP of this machine? 13584054. It's added into the Chrome also. So that's fine. Now refresh this screen.
Screen.
Yeah. See, there is no public IP4 address.
Oh, okay, I can see. Okay.
So what happens actually, this public IP address allocation is all dynamic. This comes randomly towards you. And when you release, someone else uses it and someone else will pick it. Now, when you restart this machine, what will happen? You will have a new IP address.
New IP.
So
Okay.
this is of no use now, the older IP. Now, someone might say that if this happens and I have to reboot or restart my machine on the weekend, and then I need to update my address, or I need to update my DNS settings, or I'll have to update my customer, address got changed. Or if even you update the DNS, it takes few hours to make those changes. So what should be a way to fix this IP? Just keep this in mind and start this machine. Instant straight start.
Stop.
Can be accessible via the host name or something?
No, because you see that DNS also, no? So this host name was internal. There is a DNS which gets public DNS. There is an IP associated with it. When you are actually accessing it externally, it will be either via public IP or a public DNS.
So how
New
will
IP.
this be secured for a stable environment?
We will talk about it. Let's check if this is available or not first. So open this 18.2.1.8.
Yeah.
It's working. That means start stop means nothing has changed. Whenever your machine is in stop state, it won't charge you for the compute power for that amount of particular time, but storage will be there and it will be charged. Now coming back to this question, when I start stop, why did my IP got changed? What is a way to fix that? So this IP are like chargeable IP. So how do I fix them? So in a real world, we call them as a static IP address. We buy it from Airtel, Telco, PC, right? And then from that we use it. In this case, we can fix this IP. In AWS, it's called as elastic IP address. Left of the screen, scroll down to the bottom, you will see elastic IP as an option in network and security, right? Open that. I had to take this elastic IP under my account. You have to attach it to that machine. Now, but there is a catch here. When you are in a free tier account, you get 5 elastic IP free, but they should be allocated to instance. If you don't allocate, immediately you get charged back.
Okay.
Why? Because Amazon says that if you're not utilizing, you are wasting it. Someone might else use it. So that's why there is this costing mechanism. And if you are in a paid tier, any which way you have to pay for this public elastic IP. So let's take this now. Click on allocate elastic IP address, the orange button in the right corner.
Yeah.
Scroll down. It will be from Amazon pool. Scroll down, allocate.
But I shouldn't mention any.
All those are grayed out, and accelerator
Acha.
is a different service. So we haven't talked about it.
Okay.
Look it. Now this is under Sushma's account, but she haven't assigned it to any machine. If this like is there and she keeps it for let's say 5-10 minutes more, she will get charged for this. So we have to assign it to machine. Click on action.
So as soon as the elastic IP is identified upon, we need to assign it.
Right, in a free tier account. So associate elastic IP address to instance. Scroll down. Here select your instance name. Linux 2. Scroll down. Select the private IP address of Linux 2.
This one, right? 8.
There, it will auto pop up.
Okay.
Private is 172, right?
Private. Okay.
Associate. Okay, so this public IPv4 address is 314.168. So now if you go back to your EC2, your public IP would be changed with elastic IP. Click on that machine. Yeah.
Wait, I'll launch it. No?
Yeah, just click on that ID. refresh.
So how do I see its elastic IP over
Here, see in the bottom, a little bit bottom third column, elastic.
Elastic.
Should
Okay.
say that public. Okay. So now if you stop also your machine, this IP will be there, and your configurations are also there on the IP. So just stop it, and let's see. It won't go away. It doesn't matter how many times you do start stop now.
Anyway, it's there only, no?
So, instance needs to be completely stopped, before
Before that, okay.
it says stopping now. You can close this other screen. We don't need them.
This one also, right?
Yeah, close this. Yeah, this one also.
Okay, so IP elastic.
This one also. Click on that ID now. See, your IP is still there.
Pratik, is it chargeable?
In a free tier account, if it is associated, you can get 5 IPs without any cost.
5 IPs. Okay.
5.
So, because in Elastic IP, we are actually reserving this IP, right?
Right. So that's why they have added the condition, when you are reserving, you should use it with some instance. You should not waste it. And if you are in a paid account, after 1 year, whether it's associated, not associated, in which way you'll pay for it.
Okay.
$2 a month, I guess. I don't remember exactly, but I guess $1 or $2 a month. Now let's start this machine again.
Yes, I started.
Okay. Now check the IP, public IP, put it into browser. Those configurations still will be there. Whatever we have written, that will be there. See? So nothing has changed with respect to the configurations. It doesn't matter how many times you do the start stop. Okay, now let's go back and release the elastic IP. We don't want to take any risk. Later on, what happens? We remove the machine, but we forget to remove elastic IP, so it will be there. So on the safer side, let's remove the IP. Click on elastic IPs. Okay, now click on action. Scroll down, you'll see disassociate option. Disassociate.
Click.
Yeah. Disassociate. And now release it. Action release. It is removed from your account now. Now if you go back, there will be again change in IP because this was elastic one. See, it's a different IP. Previous was 314, this is
314, and 322. Okay.
And it again says it's not elastic IP. So elastic IP address ke jagah there is an hyphen. Okay. So there are few. Yeah, go ahead.
If I try this from my account, and my account is from last 1 year, more than 1 year, so I will be charged.
Yeah, you will be charged. So don't use elastic IP, just create machine. For machine, it's done like for 5-10 minutes, hardly a rupee or 2-3 rupees there will be for. Not more than that.
What is the minimum time I can instance and try?
Minute. So it rounded off to minute always. Nearest 60 seconds.
After 60 seconds, it's adding charge to me.
No, so it's an approximation, but the rounding of mechanism, it always to 60 seconds. So it's an on-demand, right? So it's hourly costing. So what if someone runs this for 10 minutes? So it will get charged for 10 minutes on pro rata basis. It's like that.
Whatever service I am using, it will be charged for that time of period.
There are few services, which doesn't comes with the cost. So like security group, keeper and stuff like that, there is no charge with that. So those are there, that's fine. You will get charged a little bit for your T2 micro and the storage what you are using. And now there has been again an update regarding the costing. So maybe you can check the list. What are those services which are free for life?
Where this all cost is from where I can get it?
There is an AWS calculator actually. And in that case, you can check that. You can type it on Google, you'll get the link. I'll also talk about it, but it's towards end.
Okay,
There are
fine, I will
few,
get it.
yeah, but there are few services which are free, like all the time.
Yeah, okay, I will get it.
Hmm.
You can proceed.
I'll
So
also,
Pratik, so Pratik, for the hands-on or learning purpose, we can do these things which you have just shown us. So we can do it, and once we have created the instances and then we have done it, then we have to immediately stop it and release it.
right, either stop or release. Now let's say here we have two instances. I don't need this Linux test too, so I'll ask you to stop one and terminate one. So Linux 2 I'll need it tomorrow, so I'll stop this. So instance state में जाके Linux 2 को stop करेंगे. What this will do, this will save my configurations. This will stop my T2 costing, and storage के लिए it's only 8 GB and my minimum is 30 GB, so I won't get charged on the storage also. So you just click on instance state and stop this machine.
Linux 2, right?
Right, Linux 2.
Okay. And is it okay if we directly terminate, or it is a process like stop and then terminate?
No, you can directly terminate it.
Terminate. No? Okay. It's just that.
And somehow we have forgot to terminate or stop it, then it will be charged.
Yeah, it will keep on running in the background. If you are in a free tier account, so it's fine. So 750 hours is like you can keep one machine running for at least a month.
Okay.
Okay. One machine. Pratik, there is one for that whole account we have 750 hours, right? Free.
Every month.
Okay. Every month.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay, now let's terminate that second machine. We don't need it.
Second also, this one also, right?
Sorry, Pratik, I have one doubt over here. So how we get to know that we are using a free tier or a paid how can we get to know about it?
So once you create account, your free tier gets started from the day one of account.
Okay.
If you want to get more details, you go to your billing dashboard. This is what it is.
Okay.
यहाँ पे you will get to know, if you are getting charged for something. Right, it's a very fresh account, so there'll be nothing. But after some time, you'll start getting those insights over here. Left hand side, you click on bills, billing bills, left corner. And it will show you as like 0 or things like that. Scroll down. So USD 000. Right now the data is not generated. It will take some time. So it will show you insights over here, how much is utilized after your free tier account. And here also in the left, you see free tier here. यहाँ पे देखो payments, credit, purchase, left में you have free tier also. Little bit down.
Okay.
So right now its data is yet to be generated. You can check after some amount of time period, it will get generated here.
Okay. Just when I created this account, they asked me to put the billing details. I mean, my credit card, debit card.
Yes.
I got charged for 2 rupees. So that is what it is, right?
So it will get credited back.
No, but this is the process. No, I thought I didn't check whether which.
No, that's a process.
Okay.
Usually, you create any Amazon account like Audible, Prime, every time they ask you, it's the same thing. And with this cloud, everywhere it's same. Whether you go with the Google, Azure, anything, the credit card is mandatory. They just verify that, in future, if you get bills, you will be paying them.
Okay.
And they would be having the data stored for the card details, right?
Right now, there has been a change on that. I am not sure 100%, but there were some changes that in India now the card storage is not not like like previous. It has changed a little bit, but here it's not an auto debit. You'll have to select that setting. Now, if you say you want to do the auto debit, you can up to some amount like 10,000, 1,000 like that. Or if you don't want or you want to deny it, you can select those sort of settings. But your card will be added, and once it expires, you have to add a new card and things like that.
Okay.
Without, so let's say if I want to remove the card right now, it won't allow me until unless I add a new card. It's like that.
Okay.
Now, what we will do, we'll stop here for today. We will tomorrow like revise a little bit when we started. Please make sure that you don't have any running instance. You can put them into the stop, or you can terminate it. We will create multiple instance as in when required. And tomorrow morning we'll start at the same time. That's the same link. If you have any questions from today, do let me know. I'll put the recording, once it is available on the same group, I'll add it. Any questions?
Yeah, Pratik. For how many days this training will be continued? Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, or it will be only for the 2 days, Saturday, Sunday?
No, it will be continue around like at least 3 to 4 weekends. I usually try like around 4 hours every weekend. If you ask me how much time it takes, it usually take around 25 to 30 hours, depend on like interaction. It is only one way. It might go a little less. If we are doing assignments a little interactive, it might go up. You can say at least 3 to 4 weekends.
Okay.
Okay.
And
yeah, please go ahead.
I'm saying just flow would be like right now we are focusing on compute. Once we finish compute, then we move to networking. So in networking, you'll see like network setup and stuff like that. Then we move to storage. Then we move to database monitoring. So like it will go like this phases wise. And as in when we finish compute, we'll take few questions. Then we move to networking. Then we take few questions, stuff like that. So it's like bucket wise. And towards end, I will tell you a few scenarios. We'll try to connect the dots together and a few tips from an exam standpoint of view. That's an overall flow I wanted to tell. Nothing else. Go ahead, you're asking some question.
Yeah, so Pratik, from where we will get this PPT or that recording?
I'll add onto the WhatsApp group, from where I added that invite. So I'll explain you a little bit more about documentation tomorrow, but I'll add one file. In that you'll see one RAR file. There'll be multiple documents inside that. I'll explain those documents as in when the reference comes. And recording, it will take few hours to get uploaded. I'll add the link into the system.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. If there are no questions,
I
yeah.
have been questions, Swapnil. This I created it a year back, but I never used it.
Still,
So
so when you created, did you added the credit card one?
I think without that it doesn't go ahead.
So if the card was added, then the free tier was started at that time period.
Okay. So can I use another card and try or something like that?
You can, but again, the mobile number, email ID, card.
Name and everything. Okay. So one person, only 1 year.
And I can like the one which we followed today. Let's say if Sushma says paid account, I would have told her to terminate the instance. So likewise, I'll advise you. So I don't think so. It will go beyond like 100 or 150 maximum. And it's not like that. If you don't pay it, it gets auto depleted or something like that. So they keep on sending you the reminder for small amounts, and your account doesn't get like hampered right away.
Okay.
After a few months, like 3-4 months, then it gets suspended. And then when you want to restart, they'll ask you for the historical payment, and that's it.
Okay. So
And
if we are not using it, so and since I have not created any instance or any used any service,
no cost, nothing. Your account is
so no
ideal,
cost.
active,
Okay.
no cost,
Okay.
right? It's
Okay.
like if you are creating the resource, then only there is cost. Otherwise, there is no cost related.
Right. Thanks, Pratik. That helps.
Yeah.
For a training purpose, we can use a second email ID also. For
Yeah, you can try creating a new account. That's fine.
the account, yes.
If you have a number and ID.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then if there are no
Okay.
questions, then we'll see you tomorrow morning, same time, 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
If you
Thank
get
you.
time, do a little bit of practice of EC2 instance creation. Just revise what goes inside EC2, nothing else. Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Have a great
Bye.
day.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thanks. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.